What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to the May 2018 Mailbag for the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me, the usual suspects here, we've got Callum Wiggins.
Mail.
Yeah,
it's gonna be mail.
It's gonna be mail. And Robert DeFelice.
Here's the mail, it never fails, it makes me want to wag my tail. Huh?
Same here.
Some Blue's Clues for you people.
I never actually watched an episode of Blue's Clues. I think that there was this lull of what? We might actually be talking about that later. I don't know. Yeah. We do have a TV question, so maybe it'll get to that. But yeah, so if you don't know what the mailbag is, it is our time of the month. That sounded awful. Where where we get a little bit of a chance to kind of break tradition of the normal hot tags and the normal pay-per-view coverage and stuff, and we just talk about whatever. It's kind of a merge between wrestling talk and the all talk show of 2015 or so, and a chance for people to get to know us a little bit better and to just kind of bullshit and have a little bit of fun. So you're going to see some questions here that are wrestling related and some that are completely unrelated to wrestling. And if you like it, go back and check out the other episodes and pay attention to the June one. And if you weren't able to submit a question for the mailbag this time around, well, we're going to do one in June. That's why it's a monthly mailbag. So we're going to start off with Ben W's questions. Oh, I said W really well there. I like that. Little Gene Okerlund stuff. Question number 1. Is it fair to say that Sasha Banks is the best in-ring performer of any of the women on the roster in WWE today? I mean, she's literally given Asuka, Charlotte, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Alicia Fox, Nia Jax, Sonya Deville, Paige, and even fucking Ruby Riott the best matches of their careers.
Has she even faced Asuka?
Yeah, she did on, I think, 3 episodes of Monday Night Raw.
Killed her, or she almost killed herself on that dive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it was she had a rematch the next week or so, saying that was a fluke and I definitely can win, and then lost again. And then Asuka lost, and then nobody gives a shit anymore. I would actually say, and this is something different than what I would have said about 2 years ago, I think that Charlotte Flair surpassed her. Banks is probably number 2 for me, but I would put Charlotte Flair being number 1.
Sasha Banks for me is the best women's wrestler that company has ever seen. Probably the best women's wrestler with the exception of Candice LeRae that I've seen. And honestly, I think she's unfortunately getting to a place in her career where she's starting to get a Dolph Ziggler rap, where it's people were super into her because they had never seen women who can wrestle, and now that some time has passed, a lot of people are just she's not really that great. I think she's overrated, but no, Sasha Banks is, for me, the best woman they have, and definitely in my top 5 wrestlers that company has right now, period.
Men and women?
Men and women, yes.
What do you think about that, Caleb? Callum. I was
wow, Drew?
I did a Drew right there. What the hell?
Yeah, no.
There was a slight merge because it was Calum.
Yeah, and you didn't say it in the stupid accent as well, so at least that was better.
Yeah.
Hi, Drew.
He's not listening.
Drew, not able to join us today, but he sends his regards, I'm sure, to everybody listening.
Yeah. I appreciate what Sasha Banks does in the ring. She's very, very good. I would never put her at the top of the women's roster. I think Charlotte is a more complete performer. I think Asuka is a better wrestler. I think Bayley is a more sympathetic babyface. Sasha is a great seller, and she puts her body on the line probably more than any other wrestler. But just because you're willing to throw yourself at everything doesn't mean that you can actually work a match better than other people. Other people work a lot smarter than Sasha Banks, which is why I think Charlotte could be wrestling until the start of the 2030s and still be performing very well, where I think Sasha's career has a very limited lifespan with the style that she currently works with.
You think she's going to be in one of those positions in 5 years, or maybe even less than that she's going to have one of those tearful retirement speeches?
Yeah, I think she'll go a similar way to the likes of Lita or Trish Stratus, that were obviously great wrestlers, but put their body through so much more than other people that her career has to be shortened due to it. Like she'll suffer, like the way that she does suicide dives and she takes bumps against the ropes and stuff like that. Her back and neck are going to be suffering quite a lot.
Well, I hope we don't see that because, I really am a big fan of hers. And
yeah, I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen to anybody. But like, by the way that she currently works, that's kind of the route that I see her going down. It's the same with people like Dolph Ziggler before he started. Well, not the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are a lot smarter than that in terms of like protecting their bodies now. I mean, the way I mean, it's kind of like the way the Hardys used to be, the Young Bucks used to be, someone like Dolph Ziggler used to be. I'd say someone contemporary nowadays like Will Ospreay in New Japan. These sort of people, they put on such flashy, exciting matches because they will literally just bump for anything, but it's going to hurt them in the long run if they don't start to just go, okay, I'm over now because I've done all of this stuff. Now I can like take a few steps back and still produce good matches.
Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, exactly.
Question number 2 from Ben. Who do you think will be chosen as the cover star of WWE 2K19? 2 names popped up in my mind when I read this question. Braun Strowman and Daniel Bryan.
Go ahead. Do you want to go? I'm going Ronda Rousey.
Oh, fuck, yeah.
That's what I was going to say as well, but...
Totally forgot about her.
I think just because they're going to make Ronda the DLC inclusion, so she might not be the actual cover star. Couple names that popped up in my head. Tony just threw a monkey wrench into my idea because he said Daniel Bryan, and that's a good one. But AJ Styles, because I think he's earned it. And if they really want to go with the woman, and I do think that women are going to be a central focus of this game, Charlotte Flair.
Well, don't they usually do like multiple covers too?
Yeah, they usually do different versions depending on the DLC and like other aspects like special characters they're in, because I think they've done like Kurt Angle versions and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we might get some kind of a legend too.
Yeah,
and if we get a legend, I don't know who the hell that'll be.
We won't get a legend this year, I don't think, just because Goldberg was the main Hall of Fame inductee this year, right?
Yeah, so I don't think it'll be a legendary one. I think it might be the time now that we start going with a male and female cover star, though.
I would love that.
Like two people on there?
I was actually thinking 4. You do like a Raw male and a Raw female and a SmackDown male and a SmackDown female. It's not like these covers need to exclusively be only one person.
Yeah.
I don't know why they devolved into that, but if you're going to do that, I would say Roman Reigns, who surprisingly hasn't been on a cover yet.
Yeah.
And maybe like a Alexa Bliss and an AJ Styles and a Charlotte Flair with maybe Ronda Rousey in the middle. I still see Ronda being a central point of this game.
Well, Reigns was on one, wasn't he?
No,
I don't think he has actually been a star. I think in recent years. So last year was Rollins, right?
Yeah.
And before that, it was Lesnar, Austin, and Cena.
Yeah. So Reigns hasn't.
We had Orton. We had Punk. Huh.
And 14 was The Rock, and then the inverse cover was Daniel Bryan.
Tell you what, though, like if they want to sell more copies, they shouldn't put Roman Reigns on the front of that as like the only one.
No, they should do that, and then people want to buy it to set it on fire. So.
That's true. You just have to buy the game. You don't necessarily have to play it.
That kind of at least somewhat goes into this next question. Between Braun Strowman, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Daniel Bryan, Ben is asking who gets the biggest pop. I would probably still go Daniel Bryan, but that's tough.
I would say Daniel Bryan and Seth Rollins is a close number 2.
I think based on like the 2 live shows that I recently went to for both Raw and SmackDown, Bryan got the biggest reaction just because people, I think it's still the nostalgia, people are still so happy to see him back. But I think Rollins could surpass him by the end of the year just because he's producing a lot more. Like people are into him more than they've ever been in his entire WWE career this far.
Yeah, Strowman gets a big pop, but they've been really dropping the ball with him. And Styles gets like it's just like, oh, that's the reason why they're watching, kind of.
Yeah, he's a very like good performer. He's like one of the biggest names on SmackDown, but it's kind of maybe he's been champion too long or something like that. Or they've drug out this feud with Shinsuke Nakamura too long, but he doesn't get as much a reaction as the other three.
I really hate that the Shinsuke Nakamura feud has become like, damn it, it's still going instead of it being fun.
Yeah. I'm going to be writing up an article about that pretty soon. I think the technical headline for it is something like "Destined to Anger Fans," which is like sad that that's the case, but it's true.
But Rollins, seriously, is crazy over, and it's reminding me of Bryan in 2013, right around when he started fighting Cena, and how he suddenly resurfaced as this major babyface. I don't know when this happened, but Rollins is just so hot right now.
It's that gauntlet.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that the hour-long performance was a big push for that. I think also the basically from the tag team with Dean Ambrose and the reunion of the Shield, he's been like, he seems to have a bit more fire about him again.
He burns.
I'm just going to put.
I hope they really capitalize on it.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there. Ron should be the next Universal Champion.
He really should.
He should, but he won't.
I know.
They're putting that friggin' title on Roman Reigns. It'll happen at SummerSlam. Nobody will care. It'll be a bunch of boos. And then they'll go, well, what do you mean you don't want a Universal Champion that's on there all the time? Clearly fans don't like that. And it'll be like, they don't want Roman. Like, you know. Speaking of the Universal Championship.
Rollins is money, and Rollins needs that title. Go ahead, Tony.
The first question from Top Rope Walker is, could Brock Lesnar hold the Universal Championship and the UFC Heavyweight Championship titles at the same time? We might not all agree on this one, but in my mind, I would think he technically could, but neither company would want him to.
I agree 100% with what you said.
Yeah, that's about it, really.
Okay. Maybe we are going to all agree.
Yeah, it's just a case of it's good publicity for both sides, but I don't know. There's still while there's a lot of crossover between WWE and UFC, there's still like deep-seated resentment between both sides for the other one, in the sense that if Brock Lesnar walks in with holding a Universal Championship into UFC, yeah, there's like, oh, look at him with his fake belt.
And people don't understand this because you hear a lot of old school people talk about there was a real divide between WWE and WCW fans. There is a strong divide between WWE and UFC fans. Yes, there are some that meet in the middle, but UFC fans want nothing to do with pro wrestling. They like their real sport, and that's how they want to keep it. But Top Rope Walker, if you're unfamiliar, Dan Severn in 98, during the early days of the UFC, actually held the NWA title and the UFC title regularly during events in the Octagon, and even appeared on Monday Night Raw with both championships. So it's been done before. It can be done again, but they won't do it.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the benefits would be worth the potential negatives into their minds, because on UFC's side of things, that's a legitimate sport, more so than WWE. And if he's doing, some kind of a Monday Night Raw appearance or something like that, who goes to show that it's like, you could have some really random thing happen and suddenly he's got a torn pec or something like that. And then they're screwed. But in the WWE side of things, he fights somebody on UFC, he gets his ass beat in 3 minutes, and then what do you do with your Universal Champion? He comes out and he's just kind of like, his opponent goes, you got your ass kicked, and then he beats him again, and then he makes that person look worse. There's so many different variables that get in the way.
Well, look at what happened the one time they tried to incorporate the two. Was it the summer of 2016, where he had the match in UFC, and he won, and WWE is like, yeah, Brock Lesnar's a badass, and then a week later it was like, yeah, we're overturning the decision because he failed the drug test, and it was just kind of quietly, put down.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to do that anymore. And for the record, I think that just a matter of time before they do that Roman Reigns match. And even though I thought that it could potentially happen at WrestleMania, I thought that it could happen at Greatest Royal Rumble. I thought that there was even a chance that they would do it at Backlash. They just keep having Roman Reigns talk about it. The more that they have him talk about it, the more that it's like, just do it already. It's not happening in Money in the Bank, but it could happen at Extreme Rules. More than likely, it's happening at SummerSlam.
What annoys me about that is the Roman lost clean at Mania. If you wanted to stop it there, you should have just stopped it. Then you went to the cage match for some reason, gave him an excuse, and now he hasn't shut up about it on TV. And it's like, ugh.
That's why I have no faith in them just moving on to somebody else, because they went out of their way to do this Roman Reigns feud for WrestleMania, and then they went out of their way to continue it afterward.
They need to move on to Rollins. Rollins is actually over. It'll work better.
Just anybody. Anybody will work better than the Roman Reigns thing right now. Rollins, he's doing good with the Intercontinental title. They might not want to do that, but...
Don't say that, Tony, because they'll hear anybody, and you'll see Lashley win the Universal title.
It still could happen. Still could happen. And we don't know what's happening with Money in the Bank either. They could, and this is putting it out there, it's just going to piss me the hell off, but we could very, very, very likely see Roman Reigns fight Brock Lesnar and somebody on the Monday Night Raw side of things cash in Money in the Bank. And then you start a feud between that person and Roman Reigns. And that's the way that they take the title off of Lesnar without him actually losing. And it's the same shit.
We'll get to that when we do the predictions. Cause,
it just pisses me off. But this actually is something that we talked about, and apparently we were wrong about it. The other question from Top Rope Walker is WWE Clash of Champions a co-branded pay-per-view, and if so, could WWE unify the title belts? All pay-per-views are co-branded now. And
they're also all 4 hours.
Yeah, they added an extra hour to it. But we were talking about this on the whole hot tag section of SmackDown moving to Fox. Apparently we were wrong about the year. So if that's in 2019, this year, I'm not expecting a unification. But we could see it. I mean, there's always a chance that we could see it. And if it does happen, the two events that make the absolute most sense to do it are Survivor Series and Clash of Champions. Beyond that point, you could still do it, but it is a little bit strange if you just have like, we're going to unify the belts at Elimination Chamber. Like, it just doesn't seem to fit. But if that's the 2019 thing, then not happening this year, I guess.
So if there was one unified champion for the men and the women, who would you want?
Wait, one title for both men and women?
Yes.
Like an intergender thing?
No, I mean one male world champion and one female.
Right now, or you mean like to plan for like WrestleMania?
If this was going to happen at Clash of Champions.
All right, so you're planning for WrestleMania at that point. I would probably go with... You know what? Fuck it. I would probably go with The Miz for the main thing and do the Miz Daniel Bryan thing, because I think that they can't do anything that would be more interesting than that. If not that, I would just say screw WWE's mentality behind everything and put it on Samoa Joe. And then for the women, probably Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, I would say Ronda, and for the men, I'd put Seth Rollins.
Oh my god, I can't believe you just said The Miz. My stomach just tensed up.
Why?
Because he's not that good. He's not a world champion level. He's world champion when you've got 2 world champions. But if you've got 1 world champion, he should never be near the world championship. The world championships, you put Samoa Joe and Ronda Rousey. Samoa Joe's the most legitimate star they have.
Not so much. I mean, they haven't given him anything since
he's talking legitimate in terms of legit badass.
Not storyline credibility.
Yes. No, because I don't care about WWE storylines because they don't make any sense.
They do have a little bit of time to sort that out, though. They really should.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's go to Peter's questions here. First one was... Are you going to be taking any of the stats from the Sexiest Superstars tournament that he had put out there? Yeah, I'm going to be factoring in those. We're not addressing the stat questions that Peter had sent in, but Peter's done a lot of like work of trying to figure out like the way that people have balanced out and stuff on the brackets, and I'm going to be factoring that in, but I don't know exactly how, because the preliminary vote is going to be a major determining factor in the brackets and stuff. And last time around, I had done some kind of a poll, and I forget like the breakdown of how many people voted for what and stuff like that, but people kind of decided that what they wanted to do is they wanted to have it a little bit more randomized instead of what it was last year, where it was a little bit more fixed. So I'm going to have to try to figure out a way to balance that out, but we'll get something good when it comes to that. You know, we're not going to get totally randomized where it's like, you know, Alexa Bliss versus Peyton Royce in the first round, and then you've got, say, Ruby Riott against Nikki Cross, who neither of them have done well. That's not going to be the case, but I'll probably do something similar to what I've done in the past, where I'll take previous years into consideration and figure out like a 50-50 split of who gets a lot of votes and who doesn't tend to get a lot of votes, and then pair them up so that way the first round is a pretty easy one, and then it's all chaos from there. But that's going to be a couple weeks down the pipeline. We'll get to that when we get to that. Stay tuned to the Mega Powers, or not the Mega Powers, the Mega Maniacs on Facebook, and that's where I'll be posting preliminary stuff, and on the website too.
I was going to say, it's difficult to stay tuned to the Mega Powers because one of them's underground.
Yeah.
You can still stay tuned on the WWE Network for $9.99.
Yeah.
Another question from Peter here, piggybacking off of what we had said before about what do you put on your hamburgers. He says, what do you put on your hamburgers? For myself, always cheese. And almost always lettuce. Kind of depends on what else I kind of want on it, though. But predominantly, just bacon, cheese, and lettuce. Although, if you go to like Red Robin or something, they've got the Royal Red Robin burger where you got a fried egg on top, and that's really fucking good. And then you got like the Whiskey River barbecue burger with the barbecue sauce and the crispy onion straws, and like sometimes you're in the mood for that. But generally speaking, if I'm going to like Wendy's or something like that, bacon, cheese, and lettuce.
Callum?
I don't eat burgers that often, but if I do, it would usually be lettuce, onions, and ketchup.
Well, for me,
go-to.
Cheese, always cheese. And then it depends on what I want. If I feel like some bacon gets thrown on there. Maybe I feel like some prosciutto, that gets thrown on there. Mushrooms, caramelized onions, always a good time. It just really depends on what I'm feeling like. Maybe I want Swiss cheese, mozzarella cheese, blue cheese. I'm good with burgers. It just depends on what I'm in the mood for.
Mushrooms is a good point. I forgot about mushrooms, but I'm going to write that down for something for a little bit later on too, because that's going to be part of a discussion. I'm going to eat some burgers later on this week, and I can't wait. I'm hungry right now. Snack Talk begins. This one I thought was a really funny question. Peter asks, do you think Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets are gay? I never thought of it like that, but maybe. I just thought that they were good friends.
I would have loved it if they did the Office version of the Muppets, which was a bit more adult orientated. If they just like alluded to that every now and again on the show. Instead of just like them being caught in like some compromising situation and just pretending, oh no, we're not doing anything weird.
Like Waldorf comes out from underneath the table.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like one of these internal questions like Statler and Waldorf or Bert and Ernie and stuff like that.
Oh,
like,
Bert and Ernie are definitely gay. There's not even a question about that. That's why it's not a question.
Like I could totally see them being like just two bitter old, gay men that are just snarky and crap on everything. Yeah, I believe it.
It's like they were gay in an era where it wasn't socially acceptable, so they had to hide it, but they've been like, quote, best friends, end quote.
Yeah, they're each other's special friends.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It could be. They are always going to the theater. So,
good point.
I say that as somebody who's been in multiple plays.
I was gonna say, did they ever like complain about the person's fashion sense?
Maybe. That'd be funny as hell if they just did like all these like stereotypes like that. Like they're just kind of like, who's a real good entertainer? RuPaul. This was actually a pretty interesting one. I never even thought of this as like an idea before, but Peter asks, if your birthday is before August 7th, which Pokemon in the Pokedex are you? Based off of like if you do your month and then the like his is 806 because this is August 6th, and he's
I'll be right back.
Blacephalon, which I don't know what that Pokemon is, but based off of that, I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And since my birthday is June 24th, that is 624. So the Pokemon that's number 624 is Pawniard, which I looked it up, and Caroline thinks that Pawniard looks a lot like me because it's got a spiky thing on its head and it's got dark circles around its eyes.
I've got to search this now. Pawniard.
Pawniard.
P-O-W?
P-A-W.
Oh, P-A-W, right. Oh, right. Yeah, I don't see the resemblance.
Compared to some other Pokemon, I'm like, I can kind of see that.
It's pretty cool. It's like a cross between a Pokemon and a Beyblade.
And a what?
Oh, you never watched Beyblade?
I have no idea what Beyblade is.
Okay, now you're doing your own Google searching then. So, but people that know Beyblade know that. Oh, B-E-Y Blade.
Let's see here. We've got the official Beyblade, whatever. Oh, so this is like a Digimon type thing?
It's more like they're like spinning tops, essentially. They're like extreme dreidels.
Oh, yeah, now I can see them. They're like if Pogs were merged with Transformers.
Yeah, pretty much.
And there's like an Ash Ketchum dude.
Yeah.
There's fidget spinners and stuff too. Fidget spinners that will murder you. What the hell is this thing?
It was just one of the things. It's like the usual like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, Digimon style stuff that you would watch at that sort of age when you were a kid. Just like something that was on Fox Kids or whatever, or something along those lines. Cartoon Network or whatever. But yeah, I can't participate unfortunately in this Pokemon thing because my birthday's 11/29. So so I'll have to wait until a few more generations of Pokemon come around before I can get involved.
I hope it's like some kind of like how they have like the ones that are kind of like inanimate objects that just have like eyeballs.
What are you saying about me in that regard?
That you've got eyeballs.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know me so well.
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I'm back.
So what is your Pokemon, Robert?
I don't know how that falls in line with the birthday thing. I'm born after August 7th anyway. I'm born August 16th.
Oh man.
You're so close. Yeah, just missed out on being a Pokemon.
Definitely in the next generation for you.
And I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. I'll tell you, I'd like to be one of those like Entei or one of those legendary ones just because they look badass. But
you'd probably be at the start. Well, based on the fact that there's 807 Pokemon at the moment, you'd probably be at the start of the next generation. So you'd probably be a start.
What the hell happened to it just being 151?
That's where I stopped. Actually, I stopped at about 251 after the second generation, and then after that, when it's just all becomes a blur.
By the second time that I caught them all, and then they said was like congrats, then I was just like, oh fuck you. Not gonna do that anymore.
I have to have a second generation because Totodile is my favorite. So
favorite out of all of them, really?
Yeah, I love Totodile. Totodile's my favorite Pokemon.
Totodile was no, it wasn't the one that I picked at first on Gold. I picked Cyndaquil first.
Yeah, always go with Cyndaquil or Totodile. Never go with Chikorita.
No,
just useless. Awful. Yeah.
Why is Chikorita a thing anyway? It's like a pear plant or something. Like why?
Because they needed a sassy Pokemon for the animated series.
Ugh, terrible. Another Pokemon kind of related question, but kind of not at the same time. Peter asks, what is the worst theme song opening for a TV show that you've ever heard? His idea is the Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon Adventures thing. I haven't watched the show. My niece is super into Pokemon, but I haven't, thankfully been around where she's been watching that at the time. But there are so many answers to this that I've actually blocked out because if the main show theme is terrible, I tend not to listen to it. But I'll tell you one thing. Most old TV shows have awful themes. And there's one of them in particular that I have heard way too many times that I really hate called Mama's House. And it's this I don't know when the show was out. Maybe like the 60s. But it's got this theme that's like a trumpet kind of thing. And it's like... And they got like that little weird background thing where it's like... And it's just like, oh my god, it's so like old-timey TV of just like, we're going to talk about Mama's house and they're going to have a bunch of laughs, like that kind of shit. And it's just like, I hate this with a fucking passion. And I'm actually, even though a lot of people will be like, that's amazing, I'm so sick and tired of hearing the MASH theme song. It's very like a downer. So I know people love the MASH theme, but I'm not a big fan of it. Plenty of TV shows are bad, though.
The old TV show theme, I gotta say Good Times is the most frustrating theme song I've ever heard, because the entire premise of the theme song and show is, hey, we're black in the 70s and it's a good time for us if we're just barely scraping by and we're all depressed and this sucks. It's just not a very good message, and you can see why shows like that quickly fell off. But yeah, that's gotta be the most annoying theme song to me.
I'm probably going to split a few people listening here, but I can't stand the Big Bang Theory opening thing.
I can understand that.
Whatever, fine.
Yeah,
you guys can just shit on the Big Bang Theory.
Well, I watch the show every single week.
Yeah, I actually like the show. I just as soon as the theme music hits, I have to just immediately skip forward because it just absolutely grates. That was the main reason I didn't watch it for so many years, because as soon as the opening came out, oh, fuck this show, and so I just wouldn't watch any further. Then I finally decided to watch past it and actually enjoyed it, but I still can't listen to the thing.
What? Is it the Bare Naked Ladies? Do you just not like the Bare Naked Ladies?
No, they're fine. It's just the fact they go so quickly and they're just talking. They're talking so fast throughout the entire thing. Is like, I don't know. I like it to have some sort of like tune or melody to it. It doesn't really have any sort of tune. It's just them listing a load of things to a fast beat.
All right,
it's just not for me.
That.
Just not for me.
You know, while we've been talking about this, I actually thought of probably the one that most people would agree with more than anything. All in the Family.
Yeah.
You know, those were the days.
But I think that's because of her voice.
Oh, it's just atrocious. Like, somebody needs to put that voice in a dumpster and set it on fire.
Like, well, that did provide the inspiration for Family Guy's theme music.
Yeah, which I don't really like that theme all that much either, because I don't like that allusion to it. It just reminds me of it, and you know. One of the best ones, though, I have to say, I really love the Stranger Things theme. Stranger Themes. I actually downloaded a couple remixes of it the other day.
It is a pretty cool theme.
And if you like that theme, by the way, you might not be familiar with the Tron Legacy soundtrack, but it basically is a song from the Tron Legacy soundtrack.
So it's a song by Daft Punk?
Or something like that. Yeah, that soundtrack is so fucking good. Amazing. Actually, we have another 2 Pokemon things. Huh, okay. I was going to say, well, that's the end of the Pokemon ones. Apparently it isn't. Peter asks, do you think that Up, Up, Down, Down will ever play Pokemon? I don't want a Let's Play. I want complete matches or a tournament. I'd say no. It's a little too hard to get into that, because what's it, Superstar Save Point, I think?
Yeah.
What they do? Those are just casual playing, and Pokemon, you spend maybe a half an hour just setting up stuff, you know?
They might play one of the video games. I could see them playing Pokemon Stadium on the N64 or something.
Yeah, or that Tekken kind of one.
Yeah.
They could do something like that, but...
That'd be fun.
Or even Pokemon Snap. You're not going to do actual Pokemon, though.
I could try and do one of those...
Pokemon Snap.
You can try and do one of those Pokemon randomizers, which is where you go. It's like these mods to the game,
Nuzlocke challenge and stuff.
Yeah, essentially, you go into these ones, and then like the free Pokemon that you get at the start could be like an Onix and a Graveler and a Caterpie or something like that.
I did that for one of those. I think it was Pokemon Black, and my options were like really bad, except for I ended up picking a Nidoking, and it kicked ass for like the whole game, and I was just like, wow, Nidoking's actually pretty good. But it was like I blew through that game. So those are fun if you have an emulator and you can do that stuff. But I don't think that they're going to do that on up, down, down. I think it's a little bit too complicated to play.
So they've done a lot of Pokemon Go, and they've done unboxing Pokemon Sun and Moon. That's so far on up, down, down.
They did an unboxing for that?
Yeah.
Is there really anything to unbox?
I guess so.
Huh.
Depends which version you get.
Unboxings, I mean, I've done unboxings, but to me, they only make sense if it's like a mystery box thing. If it's not, then it's kind of like, oh, here's the unboxing of like, I don't know, a box of cereal. Hey, look at that, it's got cereal inside. It's like, yeah, no shit. I never understood the unboxing thing, even though I've done them. Just not my thing. Let's see what here. I know I didn't like Ash's Pikachu talking, especially because Ash's is a boy with a female voice, but what do you think of Detective Pikachu talking in the game? P.S. No spoilers for Endgame, watching playthrough on Twitch and YouTube. Never seen anything with Detective Pikachu or anything, so I have no idea.
Callum, have you heard of Detective Pikachu?
I have. He's got a very... I have not played it, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
I watched a few videos of it. He's got a very gravelly voice. Essentially, like he's a detective, like the.
He's a hard-boiled detective of like the 1930s.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what the issue is with like Pikachu having a boy with a girl's voice. Like most cartoon characters that are boys usually have a female voice actress. So
yep.
Don't see what the issue is there, but
yep.
But yeah, it's odd to see a Pikachu with such a hardened masculine voice.
Actually, is it kind of like a Danny DeVito type?
Yeah, that's why they wanted to get him for the movie.
And then they ended up getting like Ryan Reynolds, right?
Yeah. So that'll be slightly different.
I just don't understand this like concept. Like, who was like, I don't know, Pikachu is like a noir detective, or just like, are they just like throwing random things out there?
Apparently, they live in like a Pokemon town where, you know, it's not as centralized as what you see in the anime. You know, there's a bunch of different Pokemon, and they all kind of have their own personalities in this game, as I'm to understand it. And I actually really want to play that. I might have to get that here soon. Is
Slowpoke like the town idiot or something like that kind of a thing?
Possibly.
Detective Pikachu is just kind of like, I was looking for clues, and the only person who saw anything was Slowpoke, and then it's just like, who was here at 6:30? Slowpoke? You weren't here, damn it! Like that kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I'll have to check it out. You know, when the movie comes out, maybe I'll check out the movie or something too. But
are they doing a movie for it?
Yeah, that's the Ryan Reynolds thing.
Really?
There's a bunch of people being cast in it too. It's like they're like making this like legit.
Hold on, I have to Google that now.
I have no idea what like that's going to turn out to be, but they're also doing like a Sonic the Hedgehog live action movie or something.
Oh my god, no, please!
Which is like, I don't know how they can pull that off, but
they ruined Sonic on Apple Red with like every game after like post 2000.
Mania was pretty good though.
That's the most recent one, right?
That's the most recent 2D one.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of good stuff about that. And they're supposedly they're going to do a Super Mario movie too, but it's not going to be live action. Yeah,
but it's animated by DreamWorks, I believe. So I'm worried that it's going to be Mario meets the Minions.
I don't like that.
When did the film industry stop making original ideas?
Right around the time that everybody else stopped making.
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah, just wondering.
So this is actually a two-part kind of question. It's sort of merged into one, but I think that we should kind of split it a little bit. But Peter asks, do you believe in conspiracy theories, government, and cartoon, or whatever else? So I'm going to split this as conspiracy theories first, and then like fan theories. Conspiracy wise, we talked about this a little bit, but yeah. Like, I kind of do, I kind of don't. It sort of depends. And if you go to a website like Above Top Secret, I think that the majority of the people there are insane. But some things make a lot of sense. There's some people that are like, everybody in the world is actually a lizard in disguise, and they have some kind of weird skin that they put on every night, and whatever. And it's just kind of like, you're totally nuts. But JFK probably didn't get killed by a random dude. And I do not believe whatsoever that 9/11 wasn't at least partially an inside job. And there's a couple other things that are like that. You know, for the JFK side of things, I'm of the opinion that Johnson and other people had something to do with it. For 9/11, I think that the government really wanted to get into a war, and they decided to overlook this most recent attack that could happen. One of those things where it's like, oh, we got some reports that they're planning on doing this. And then they go, oh, that'll work. Go ahead and do it. And then, oh, look at this. Oh, it happened. I think that we should go to war. Because Bush ahead of time had said the only presidents who are remembered are wartime presidents. And that's very, very suspicious to say. I do believe that the government has, well, not just necessarily the government, but like, you know, the industrial complex in general, they've got plenty of technology that we haven't seen yet. But I don't think that it's like people are teleporting left and right and stuff, you know, like I read one thing before, I was like, this is just insane, where it was like, there's a base underneath, what was it? It was something like a stadium, like, I don't know, like Yankee Stadium or something like that, where if you wear this certain outfit, you go on this elevator, and the elevator teleports you straight to like Venus and whatever. And I'm like, how about we start with just like, maybe they've got batteries that don't need to be recharged. You know, like that kind of a thing. What do you guys think about conspiracy theories? Is it all hogwash? Is it, wow, hogwash? What the hell did I say, hogwash?
Jeez, Tony.
You know,
conspiracy theories, like you kind of said, I don't think that, you know, lizard people are real, and I don't buy everything about, you know, the Illuminati per se, but you're dense if you don't think that there's more than meets the eye to things like 9/11 and and JFK. And I'm sure that there is, you know, aliens. I fully believe in Area 51 and things like that.
Oh, fuck. Area 51 is something. I don't know if it's aliens, but it's something, clearly. Same for Dugway Proving Grounds.
You know, I think there are people who try to attach a conspiracy theory to everything, and I don't necessarily agree with them, but there's more to the things that we see. What about you, Callum?
My general stance on conspiracy theories is that I think they're fun and they're interesting discussion points, and there's a lot of stuff that we don't know all the answers to that can only be discovered by further research and people actually being invested and interested in it. But my general thing is the idea, like similar to what you said, Robert, is that you shouldn't use the fact that there's a conspiracy theory about this subject to make you believe that there's a conspiracy about every single subject. So, yes, you could possibly look into the 9/11 stuff and see potentially government would be involved, or the JFK assassination, to think that someone from the mafia or something like that was involved in it. But no, the moon landings did happen. Yes, the Earth is round. Don't start thinking about all the other stuff like that.
That one really annoys me, because I can't believe that there's people who really hang their head on the Earth is flat. Damn it.
Hey, I can't believe there's people that watch Raw every week.
We're two of them, so, you know.
Hey, you fix for yourself.
See, but the most important thing is I've been to the moon. No, the moon thing I think is funny. The flat Earth thing is just dumb. I really don't understand that. But if you start getting into me like the fact that there's like the Bohemian Grove stuff and like, that's creepy. You mean to tell me that there is legitimately, like, it's not even a conspiracy theory. There legitimately are people that are high up in very influential business positions that meet up in the middle of the forest where there's a big fucking owl that they set on fire or whatever. That is insane. And that to me goes, well, if that's something that's real, what the fuck else are they talking about? And you got the Federal Reserve, and you got, like, I 100% believe that Donald Trump is not our actual president, and that he's this figurehead that they've put in there to be a puppet and to take a bullet if somebody decides that they want to go crazy, and that it's Mike Pence that's the actual president. I'm so convinced about that.
Well, I don't think that's a theory. I think a lot of things that are happening right now can be pointed to as, that's fact. Because, the guy had no experience to begin with. And
he has been chummy with the Clintons. And it's like, you put the Clintons up against them, and then, it's just one of those things where it's like you rig the vote, sort of. And I don't know.
I think they thought they were really going to rig it the other way, and then it was just
then it backfired.
Oh shit, here we go.
Oh shit, the people are this dumb, like that kind of thing. But this, the other part of the question is totally different from it. That's why I wanted to split it. It's about fan theories. Peter brings up the idea that Elsa and Anna from Frozen are Rapunzel's cousin from Tangled, and that they are on the ship that deals with the Little Mermaid, and then there's
Tarzan thing, yeah,
there's different things like that, and kind of like the idea of like cross-dimensional universes in different theories, like the Pixar theory. That is like a major fan theory that's gone around, and they've done a lot of stuff that actually kind of seems like maybe that's the case. Like By and Large is in everything, and you see the Pizza Planet truck in almost everything. And I really love a good fan theory. There's a subreddit just called Fan Theories on Reddit, and sometimes people bring up some really great stuff, but a lot of them tend to be pretty awful. And my life, if I never hear the fan theory of James Bond as a code name and it's different people every time, that'll be too soon. I'm sick and tired of that one. Most of the time it tends to be the whole movie was a dream, where the whole book was a dream. And at this point, when the character passes out, then they actually died, and everything since that point has always been like their idea of heaven and whatever. I don't like those as much, but there's a lot of things that tie into some other stuff that, like, some fan theories are pretty good. I like it quite a bit.
I really hate the ones that are based off of cartoons. Like, here's the Ed, Edd n Eddy fan theory where it's like the cul-de-sac is just purgatory. And
a lot of purgatory ones.
They're all kids from different eras. And here's why. And I hate stuff like that because it takes something that was kind of nice and fun and lighthearted and just really puts a grim spin on things, and I hate that.
Colin, what are you thinking?
I mean, I do watch like videos by the game theorists and stuff like that, which are essentially a load of like fan theories and speculation about different video games, like the Super Mario games, Sonic games, especially the Pokemon stuff, going back to Pokemon as well, but the stuff like Gary's Raticate dying, and that's why he's in was it the like the cemetery when you go battle him next, and he doesn't have the Raticate in his team anymore because like, oh my god, his Raticate actually died during the thing. I'm gonna go by the idea of like Professor Oak was like an abusive grandfather or something like that, and that's why he seems to favour you over his own actual grandson the entire time. So yeah, I find these a lot more palatable than the real ones because it's stuff that people might have actually thought of while creating this stuff, but even if they haven't, it's just like interesting stuff that doesn't really hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Whereas the real stuff is kind of like, well, this stuff could have happened, and if it does, then it means that a lot of people are really fucked up.
There's a secondary term for it called headcanon, where if there's like a fan theory that isn't necessarily disproven, but it isn't proven either, that you can contribute it to your own idea of like, when a movie ends and it's open-ended, And some people say, like, well, this is probably what happened afterward. Like, did everybody see Castaway, for instance?
Yeah.
You know, you get to the part where, like, he's at that crossroads, and it's like, well, does he go back and talk to the girl or not? Or does he just kind of, like, continue his life? Or does he, like, kill himself or whatever like that? Most people tend to go, yeah, I bet he probably went and started a new life with her. And that's headcanon. And when you get something like the Gary's Eradicate thing, it's just kind of like, well, they're never going to say whether or not that's true. So if you want to believe it, it's headcanon for you. And if you don't, there's nothing that says that that's true. So you can have fun with it, like, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I like them quite a bit. I think that they're actually pretty good. I haven't browsed fan theories in a while on Reddit, but I'm looking right now, and there's a lot about Thanos, of course. A couple things about Westworld, which I totally want to read because it says Westworld and what is going on, and I really want to figure out what the fuck's going on because this show is confusing as hell. But I suggest if you are into the fan theories thing, go ahead and check out that subreddit, and you can just do a search for anything that you're kind of interested in and see what pops up for you. You never know what you'll find. Another Simpsons-related kind of thing. Which Simpsons future prediction is the most interesting to you? Disney buying Fox is pretty cool. Yeah, that is a pretty interesting one. You know, they do get some of these things correct, and the Donald Trump presidency to me is probably number one. That's very strange that was right.
Yeah, that's my number one as well.
Yeah, that's probably like the standout one. I'm a little bit remiss that I don't really think too much about all this stuff, so I don't really know too many of the other theories that really stick out. I'm just doing like a quick Google search for it now. Apparently, they predicted the Ebola virus was going to happen like way beforehand.
There's some of them that it's just kind of like, well, this was an obvious thing. Like, people go, well, they did a phone with a video screen on it before, and it was like, well, people talked about that for years. That's not like a Simpsons-related thing.
But the 9/11 one is a little weird.
See, I don't buy into that one. I think that's bullshit.
I mean, I think it's a happy coincidence. Well, not a happy coincidence, I guess.
Yeah, it's very not a happy one.
It's a coincidence, but it's just a little strange.
I do think it's funny that they've gotten to a point now where they've had enough future predictions correct that people think that Matt Groening is a time traveler, and that Futurama is like his way of saying, like, yes, I am from the future. I think that's pretty funny.
And also, this list of the predictions, it's just like the Siegfried and Roy tiger attack. Wow, they predicted a team that works with tigers would be attacked by a tiger at some point in there.
Exactly, yeah.
Like, yeah,
that's an easy joke to make, that eventually Siegfried and Roy would be attacked by the tiger, and it's like, well, wouldn't that be funny? And then when it happens, you're like, they called it, and it's like, well, everybody was kind of like, I wonder if that tiger's ever gonna fuck them up.
Yeah.
That Donald Trump thing, though, that was, I wrote it on the thing, I said, that was a joke for years as like, oh, that'll never happen. And then it was like, oh, shit.
What about the Farmville one? I just think that, again, happy coincidence, but I think that one's kind of funny.
I'm still waiting for... Sorry, what was that, Rob?
No, I think that was Tony.
Farmville?
Yeah, the yard work simulator that kind of...
Oh, yeah.
Turned into Farmville.
I love that joke. I want to go on the yard work simulator.
I only believe that Matt Groening is the future seeing if Arnie gets the presidency at one point. Then I know this, okay?
Yeah, that's definitely the case then. And I'm still waiting for that recipe of the really ripping lentil soup. I don't think I would like it. I don't like lentil. But piggybacking off of the Donald Trump thing on The Simpsons, Peter says the scene where they're talking about all that kind of stuff, Milhouse says the country is broke, and Lisa says that she's the first straight female president. Do you think that they will be right? No. Lisa will not be the first straight female president.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well...
she is a fictional character.
And she's hella gay as well. So,
but I will say this, though. The fact that they said they went from Donald Trump as president to a woman as the first female president, even though it's the first straight female president, that kind of a thing, I would not be surprised at all if our next president is a woman. And that is even freakier if they were like, yep, Donald Trump and then a woman, and then it was like, then in real life it's Donald Trump and then a woman. I would not be shocked.
Well, I'm not saying it's that they're completely out of the question, but do we know of anybody that could be in the running for that isn't Hillary?
I think Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, okay. I don't really keep up with American politics, so that's why I'm kind of leaning on you guys' experience.
I don't follow it too much, but I mostly follow if anybody's bought a Does The Rock win the presidency thing. But Elizabeth Warren, I think, is like one of those main ones that would be in the running. There's probably plenty of other people too.
That's the first one that pops into my head. But I don't know. I think we could, with the way, with how progressive our country is getting, we could see a lesbian president before we see a straight female president. We don't know these things. You never know what's going to happen.
It's going to be really interesting what happens in the next couple of months, because they're going to have to start building towards something.
Actually, if we're talking like real predictions, I do think Elizabeth Warren will try running, but I think Joe Kennedy might also be
There's another Kennedy?
For. Yeah.
It's so hard to keep track of these Kennedys.
Kennedy.
That was a good one. I like that. Peter asks, do you think that The Rock could actually win as an independent? No, I don't think so.
Trump is president. Bite your tongue. There's already one WWE Hall of Famer in the presidency. Who knows? The Rock has actually expressed interest, I think. And I don't know why The Rock would want to be president, but stranger things have happened. You never know.
To me, it's threefold. The Rock has to want to actually run and do it. Like, instead of just being like, yeah, it's a possibility, but he actually has to do it. Then he has to win, and he also has to run as an independent. I don't think that all three of those things line up. The Rock could run for president, and there's even a scenario where he could win, but I can't imagine he runs and wins as an independent. He would have to be a Democrat.
Oh, yeah, he's going to have to pick a side.
I don't even know if there's been an independent that has won in...
Never.
Like, yeah, like, ever. Or if it was like, like, an 8th president or something like that, where it's just like, it's not the same. But no, I don't think we're going to get independent Rock, Dwayne Johnson as president. Last, I think that this is actually the last of the Simpsons questions. What do you think of Ned Flanders taking over Edna Krabappel's class? That's happening?
No, okay. I've had a lot of free time on my hands, so I've actually gone back and watched this season of The Simpsons on Hulu. And yeah, this season, Ned Flanders has become the teacher in what was Edna Krabappel's class.
So he doesn't run the Leftorium anymore?
No.
How did they write off Edna?
She died. The actual voice actress died. So
yeah, but I mean, like, on the show, did they, like, kill off Edna? Or did they
just kind of had there was a scene where Ned and her were dancing, and then you realize that he's just thinking this in his head, and he just says, "I miss her," and Nelson goes, "Ha ha," and then Nelson goes, "I miss her too," and then it's in memory of the actress's name.
Huh. That's horribly sad.
It is. By the way, they need to just wrap it up.
Yeah, they've needed to for years. I haven't even watched the show in years, and it's my favorite show of all time. First 10 seasons are. I always said to specify that. I haven't seen Family Guy in years, too. So.
I've also been watching the most recent season of that, and I wasn't as turned off as I have been in recent years.
The last episode I saw was the one where they kill off Rupert and then bring him back.
That was this season.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Well, guys, they've just signed a new deal with Fox for 5 years for $1 billion. Oh, wait, that's WWE.
Can't wait for the Simpsons WWE crossover.
Homer versus Braun Strowman. I can see it. Peter asks, what TV show season starts off bad, but after the season break comes back on fire? He's just Gotham. I stopped watching Gotham on the episode where they introduced the Mad Hatter because I realized that the show was never going to get what I wanted it to be. But the only suggestion I could think of out of this kind of a question was the first half of the first season of Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. wasn't all that great. And then it got a lot better. And then it dipped down, and then it got better, and then it got dipped down, and went better like that. But there's a certain character change that happens in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and at that point on, it was like, oh, fuck, all right, I'm in. That kind of a thing.
go by the sense, I can't really think of a TV show off the top of my head that I know starts off the season quite badly and then just picks up steam towards the end of it. I'm sure I've watched quite a few like that, but there's none that spring out to mind. I was going more along the lines of a TV show that started off bad in terms of like the first season being like terrible and then got better and stronger as the next seasons came along. There's a UK comedy called Blackadder that was running in the late 80s, early 90s. And the first season of that is like dreadful, like one of the worst television shows I've ever seen. Like completely unfunny, poorly written. The characters are all laid out incorrectly. And then after the second season, they start to mix things around a bit. So they make the lead character, who was in the first season, a bit of like adult and an idiot and someone that was taken advantage of quite a lot. He becomes quite suave and debonair and witty. And so he becomes like a better character and leads the entire thing. And then everyone else becomes a lot more entertaining and funny. It's much like more well written. So that's the one that sticks out in mind as like something that went from such a point where, oh, how can they bring this back for a second season? And then, oh my God, it's now the greatest TV show that I've ever seen at that point.
Going along those lines, How I Met Your Mother is my favorite TV show of all time, but that they started off strong with the first, I'd say, 3 seasons, and then they introduced Stella, and the show completely took its focus off of what the actual premise is. And, you know, everybody's kind of shit on the ending. And
yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. So How I Met Your Mother is a show that started off kind of iffy with the first few episodes of the first season, really picked up, and then kind of tailed off towards the end.
If this counts, I don't know if it really counts necessarily, but a show that I think had a good switch over from season 1 and season 2, although it wasn't like it was bad and then it got good. It was good and then it got better. Is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because in season 2 they introduced Danny DeVito's character, and Frank is awesome. Probably my favorite character of the show.
He wasn't in there from the start of the show?
No, season 2.
Huh. He's all I think about when I think of that show.
This one I don't have an answer to. Is do you think that Eddie Guerrero had bad luck in ladder matches? I don't really know his history all that much.
In terms of what? He only had 3? Am I right, Callum? 3?
Are you talking just WWE?
I'm talking WWE, WCW. Oh no, he had 4. He had 4. Because the tag match that I forgot.
Yeah, he had a match against 6 in WCW, which he won.
That was not a good match.
No, not a good match, but it was on Sold Out, which was an all-over terrible show, so it wouldn't be that good. And then he lost the match for RVD for the Intercontinental Championship when a fan jumped in the ring. Good. Yeah, when a fan jumped in the ring, which made it a little bit awkward towards the end. And then the tag team match with Tajiri, where he won the tag titles, which was a good match. I remember
bad
that
luck in the sense of that was supposed to be Los Guerreros, and Chavo got injured.
Yeah, and then the match with Mysterio for Dominic's custody.
I hate it.
Yeah, that match was terrible. It wasn't a terrible match, but like
the
it was
premise
very poorly put
really
together.
Killed the match, though.
Yeah, and also the part where Eddie Guerrero standing on top of a ladder for about 2 minutes, shouting for Vicky Guerrero to come down.
And then he literally, when he falls, he literally goes, "Motherfucker, where the fuck was Vicky?"
Yeah.
I do remember that. I wasn't watching at the time, but I've watched that in retrospect, and that's funny as hell.
Go ahead.
I like any question where I get to talk about Eddie Guerrero, the sense of this stuff, because one of my favorites of all time. But I wouldn't say he was unlucky in ladder matches. I think he had all round just decent ladder matches, but he was definitely not someone who I'd put as synonymous with the gimmick.
And really, I just want to hammer home that thing about the Ray match. I was very young at the time, and that was one of the first times I remember just thinking, they don't need to do this. If you want to have them in a ladder match, put a belt on one of them. Like, if you really want to have them in a ladder match, you don't need to say, Dominic's really my son. And I hate that kind of phoniness, and it really ruined the match for me.
You know who was United States champion at the time?
Yeah. Orlando Jordan.
Yeah. and they had these two fighting over a child's custody instead.
Ah, God.
Sounds like not the best luck of ladder matches at the very least.
No, he doesn't have the most storied legacy. He's not a Shawn Michaels in terms of the ladder match stuff.
And whatever happened to putting people in ladder matches because that was like high flying was their thing? You know, if you look at this coming Money in the Bank, there's not a lot of like, oh, that's a ladder match guy right there. You know, it's just like, hey, here's these 8 guys fighting for a title shot.
It became more about the result as opposed to the match itself, really.
Which is a damn shame.
Like, it's the idea that you're not going to put someone, even though someone like a Kalisto or Mustafa Ali will probably be better in a ladder match in terms of like being able to be more athletic or acrobatic with the moves. You're not going to put a world championship on them.
But
at the same time, though, you got people like with the Hell in a Cell. Same thing happened with that.
Yeah.
Used to be about finishing a feud. Now it's October.
It's just like Jeff Hardy. You know, why isn't he at least in the qualifying match? Why'd you have Bryan beat him?
He's got a title.
He was in a qualifying match too. He lost to The Miz.
Yeah, but he also lost to Bryan. When you know you're not putting Bryan in that.
Nah, well, they're dragging that story out.
Yeah.
Castle cost him the match next week, and then they'll do that whole like, oh, I'm gonna fight you, and Cass versus Bryan.
Yawn.
Which tag teams, if any, do you think, after breaking up, failed to be good singles guys? Peter suggests James Storm and Bobby Roode.
What?
Bobby Roode was great as a singles guy.
So was James Storm. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hey, take it up with Peter.
Storm was a little bit like, He kind of just did the singles thing for a little while and then just went straight back into another tag team. But I'd say a pretty obvious one is the Dudley Boys. And I'm talking WWE Dudley Boys, not TNA for Team 3D, where at least one of them did really well. Like the Reverend Devon and Bubba just sitting in the Hardcore Championship division for ages. Just like, they're so much better as a team. Why are you
Bubba had a 2-week feud with Triple H in 2002.
Yeah, I know. That was Triple H in the ultra burying phase, so I won't go giving too much props to that. But you talk about loads of stuff like Titus O'Neil and Darren Young.
Yep, Primetime Players is on my list.
Yeah, there's
Crime Time.
I wanted to laugh because I just sent you that screenshot yesterday. So.
Yeah.
But Crime Time is one where it's like, why did you even split them up? You know, this is up for debate. You can, you know, lynch me in the comments if you want, but Legacy? Rose and DiBiase? You know?
That's tough because it's like Orton separating is like, okay, well, he was already an established star and he's just continued to be there. Cody Rhodes, he's seen at least a level of success. Not as much as like someone like myself would really want, but Ted DiBiase didn't amount to anything.
Yeah.
So that's a potential. Certainly not like when you count like Manu and Sim Snuka. Like if you throw that in there, then like those were terrible. But I would say the Lucha Dragons.
Oh,
too.
definitely, yeah. That's a really good one.
Because I still think. Go ahead.
I was going to say they definitely could be something in the tag team division now, even though they are quite small.
Yeah, and with Kalisto, he had his whole thing with the Lucha Dragons. He tried to go separate. He did the United States title run. It was terrible. He won the Cruiserweight title. It didn't matter. And now he's back in another tag team. It's just, now it's the Lucha House Party, and there's one extra guy. And Sin Cara is not even showing up anywhere.
And also,
is it too much to say Nexus?
Maybe a little too much, yeah.
For the most part, you know, Heath Slater is a jobber for his whole career. David Otunga is just kind of hanging around being everybody's least favorite commentator. And Daniel Bryan spent a bunch of years where he wasn't able to actually wrestle. Yeah. So, yeah, that kind of was. Certainly the core. The core didn't amount to anything.
Yeah, I'd go kind of like the idea of both times they decided to split up Harper and Rowan.
Oh,
They're so much better as a unit. They're so much better as a unit.
They definitely don't work as singles guys. And they could, too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They could work. But WWE just doesn't want to do it.
Another example of this, and even though you're going to say, yes, they won championships separately, but the New Age Outlaws.
Yes, they won championships separately.
You know, I walked into that one, but the New Age Outlaws really weren't meant to separate.
No,
Yeah.
They thought Billy Gunn was better than he was. And
yeah,
he was all right, but he was never going to be anything more than an ass man.
They were at their peak when they were a tag team. I don't even think that there's an argument behind that.
And I'm going to put this out there as well. If they split the New Day up, they're going to go the exact same way.
I wanted to say the exact same thing. It's too early to say the New Day.
No, if they do split them up, it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Xavier Woods will either be a part of 205 Live or he'll be a jobber in the mid card. Kofi Kingston will be back to being the resident feud with anybody who they want to get over in the mid card division, and Big E will probably be saddled with another tag team member.
No, he'll have a failed world championship push. He'll have one match.
No, he already had the failed Intercontinental Championship run. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, but they
need to stick together.
Yeah, you don't strangle a golden goose unless you've got an even bigger golden goose on standby.
I still think American Alpha hasn't panned out for either Jason Jordan or Chad Gable.
That's a good one. Hard Dynasty.
Hard Dynasty, they just all kind of crapped out. Like, Tyson Kidd, unfortunately, wasn't able to amount to anything, and then he got injured. Smith just fucked off. And Natty's Natty, you know. I would say Enzo and Cass.
Yeah. Yeah. There's like the litany of things. It's the old WWE trope of, we've got this tag team, but we want to really push one of these guys, so we're going to split both of them up and then forget about both of them.
Mm. I would even also argue the Bella Twins don't work as well on their own.
Oh, no, they've tried that quite a few times, and it never works because some people are just better as a team, and this goes back to, Callum had mentioned, and we talked about in the hot tags, they're kind of giving up on their tag divisions, and here's the issue with that. Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder are meant to be a unit. You know what I mean? They don't have separate identities.
They can't survive on their own. If they ever split them up, they're screwed.
Heavy Machinery, same thing.
Yeah.
It's always been my... Oh, go ahead.
I would say Otis Dozovic
has...
Like, he could be the same exact person as, like, a sort of lower mid-carder. I don't think that Tucker Knight really would go anywhere. Dozovic is just weird enough. Like that kind of a thing.
I go by this idea of, like, when I ever talk about tag team wrestling and the fact that apparently they are giving up on it, which obviously fills me with dread, but it's the idea that it's similar to tennis. Like, there are doubles guys and there are singles guys. And doubles guys, even though they wouldn't stand a chance if they were fighting, like, one of the top singles ranked players on their own, in the doubles situation, they should be doing better because that's where they've decided to craft their niche essentially in this sport. So that's why I think the tag team champions should win matches against guys like a tandem of, say, a Roman Reigns and Finn Balor or something like that, because yes, these guys are great singles wrestlers and they'd be able to easily beat one of these guys separately, but these guys know tag team wrestling more, and the other guys, they don't team with each other that often, so they're not in sync very often. But WWE always puts the top single stars over in those situations.
And I think that that's going to change when Vince isn't calling the shots.
Yeah. One of the many things to look forward to.
Peter also asks...
We can all agree that the Rockers and the Hart Foundation should have never split up, right?
Yeah, guaranteed. Marty Jannetty, man, multi-time world tag team champion. He says, do you care about the WWE and the women in WWE right now? I don't care about anything they are doing. I do, but there's a lot of things in WWE that I think that they're just kind of coasting on.
Yeah.
It's not a case of not being interested in the women's superstars because they're extremely talented. They're very good. I think the storylines have been shit that they've been dealt out for the past year and a half almost, I'd say.
Bingo. It's not their fault. It's WWE's fault.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't think they've ever seemed more like they're headed in the opposite direction. If you look at last night, and yes, with the participants in the match, it should have gone this way. But I felt like we were back in 2010 last night watching Lana and Billie Kay.
I don't understand that at all. I really was just like, all right, well, they should go with Billie Kay here. And Lana doesn't seem to know how to wrestle. And then she hits a kick and a face buster.
Bella finisher with the X Factor and got to win in like 2 minutes. And I'm like, okay, here we go. We're back to, divas being filler.
Also, I guess they're finally going with the babyface push, sort of. Tomorrow or next week, we'll get some kind of report that it's like Rusev murdered a baby and you should, boom. This is another thing we've talked about quite a bit here and there, so I don't want to harp on this too much, but actually I'm skipping a little bit, but the John Cena and Nikki Bella breaking up stuff, it's bullshit.
Okay, but here, like, whether it is or it isn't, and I've talked about, like, hating that everybody is a brand in 2018 just as a person, and it sucks for them, but it's none of our business. And if they're happy together, they're happy together. If they're not, they're not,
Doesn't affect me directly.
Yeah. I mean, it's none of our business, but they try and make it our business by shilling it through their TV shows and stuff like that. It's like the idea of, were they broken up? Potentially. Like, there's reason to believe that they were, actually, and there's reason to believe they weren't, reason to believe they cancelled their wedding and stuff like that. So there probably was some sort of issues, because if they were going to get married and they had all these arrangements in place and they decide to cancel it, that's a lot of money down the drain. So they probably wouldn't have just done it for the sake of the TV show. But it's going along the fact of, but they're still shilling it completely on the TV show, and they've used it to plug the Total Bella stuff over and over and over again. So it's artificial.
Yeah.
At the very least. But it doesn't mean that every single aspect of it was completely fabricated. It just means that they've decided to capitalize on the fabricated stuff to feed it into their bullshit narrative.
He also says that on an episode that Nikki says that Cena has OCD. I think that's just when people tend to go. I didn't watch the scene, so I don't know. But most people tend to throw OCD in there as like, oh man, I got so much OCD, and it's like they don't really. It's just a matter of like they are very particular. Like I throw that word around. I'm just like, oh, this is so OCD of me, but I don't think I would ever actually be classified as having OCD, because I'm not like, flipping out if I don't turn the doorknob 3 times before I open it, and
it's
like
not
the more
serious
serious kind of things. Yeah, it's just a matter of like I like being organized.
Yeah, and it's just a term that people like to throw around people that are either very particular or very like, I guess, demanding or authoritative, really.
But it's kind of annoying that we've devolved in a sense that if you can't just keep anything anywhere, like if you like some semblance of organization, oh man, you have OCD, you should probably get It's like the people who are like, they had a bad day, they got rained on, and they're like, I'm depressed. It's like, no, you're not.
No. You had a bad day, you're a little bit down, and you're sad. You're not dealing with depression. Depression is far more serious than that. But that's what it is. And then people are like, oh, I'm such a drunk, and it's like, because you had a beer? But then other people are like, I'm not a drunk, and you're like, that's your 8th in the past 2 minutes. So people have no idea. Peter's last question here is, do you think that Brock is holding the title just as a fuck you to CM Punk to break the record? I don't, but I do kind of think that part of me would buy into the idea that maybe the reason why we did this whole thing with WrestleMania and the Greatest Royal Rumble is maybe they realized that was coming up soon, and they're dragging it out for that reason.
It's like when they had Nikki break AJ's record by like 2 days or something like that.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah, it was like a week afterwards. They had Charlotte challenge for the title like a couple of days before the thing. The thing was going to break. No, she challenged him on Raw first.
Yeah,
like a couple of days before the record was going to break, and then they had a bullshit finish for that one. And then the next pay-per-view, a couple of days afterwards, Charlotte won the title. So yeah,
but I've said with that situation, it's like, that's fine. The Bellas embody that butterfly. So what the fuck ever. But with the Brock thing, it probably is just a fuck you to Punk, because they've been mentioning it more on the television shows when Brock appears, that he's one of the longest modern day champions. And it's like, yeah, but you're really hurting your product just to spite someone who doesn't really care what you're doing.
Well, I don't think that the game plan going into Goldberg winning the title was Goldberg will beat Owens so he can drop it to Lesnar at WrestleMania so he can beat Punk's streak.
Oh, no, I don't think it started out with that idea, but I think as it's morphed, they're probably just going to let him break the record just because.
Yeah, he'll break it.
Yeah, I tend to go by the sense of, I'm not going to say it hasn't completely crossed their mind, but I don't think it's actually played into the run itself. I think they're probably quite happy with the fact that it's going to happen now because they are petty behind the scenes and stuff like that. So I don't think they're upset about it, or they're like particularly going to be. Although I don't think the reason that Brock has held the title for as long as he has is to do with CM Punk, but I think it's just an added bonus.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So let's move on to Frankie's questions. Do you like the Raw commentary team switching up between Coach and Booker? Okay.
I don't like this 3-man format. Like, they're mandating it everywhere, and really it's the same layout on every single show. It's straightforward play-by-play, a snarky color guy that's had some in-ring experience, and then there's the in-between, has been in the ring, quirky black guy. Has anyone noticed that this pattern is present throughout all of their shows, and it pisses me off because why are you doing it? Like, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't listen to commentary anymore. I either tune it out or I even mute the stuff because it is painful to listen to them. Like, really, genuinely painful because none of them know what they're doing. Even Michael Cole, who I know, Mauro Ranallo's great, but Michael Cole, people say that he gets shit on too much. I don't think he gets shit on enough. He's actually terrible. He is.
I think he's good because I can see that he's probably being asked too much.
No, he's Vince McMahon's mouthpiece. He literally just says everything that Vince tells him to say.
Yeah, but would you want that job?
Well, yeah. If I'm getting paid as much as he probably is, then yeah. I think Michael Cole, if he was allowed to be himself, would actually be a decent commentator with the amount of experience he's got. But because he's always just been Vince McMahon's mouthpiece on commentary, he's always just sucked. He's always just spoken the WWE narrative. Like, every time I've listened to Michael Cole, I've never thought, oh, Michael Cole has an interesting opinion about this. I thought, wow, WWE really trying to push this down our throats. Because he's, like you said, he's the voice of WWE. He is not a person. He's a robot that just feeds back all of WWE stuff. He might as well just be a robot that's programmed to say, oh, talking about the anti-bullying campaigns, and yeah, we're going to be putting this stuff out on the WWE Network, and oh, malfunction. Oh, that was a great drop toe hold or something like that. Oh no, he's saying wrestling moves. Oh fuck, we got to reprogram him quickly. Talk about the press releases and stuff like that. Oh.
Well, how great was heel Michael Cole, banging on the gong in NXT and stuff?
Yeah, he was. Well, on a show that was as terrible as NXT, it was the only entertainment that you get. Yeah, because that felt like a genuine person. That felt like someone who was actually doing stuff and was actually a character. Just like him in his current state, he's just you could just put anybody in that position.
And I'm sure they're grooming Vic Joseph to do just that.
Exactly.
But Michael Cole, real quick, with the gong. Right after he goes, I don't need this. I just called Cena and Orton in a tables match. And then he bangs the gong and walks out. That's one of my favorite moments of the last 10 years.
Again, I don't say any of that stuff to sully Michael Cole as a commentator, or even any of them as commentators. But in the WWE style of commentary, they all just don't work properly. And the idea of rotating Booker T and Coachman, Coachman's, I prefer him because he doesn't say as much, and I don't like Booker T because he says things, and when Booker T says things, I tend to facepalm or something along those lines.
Booker T has this wonderful quirk of anytime anything major happens, he just goes, and it's what the fuck was that?
Booker T's amazing when it comes to that stuff. He's so fun to listen to because it's just insane.
I'd rather they just let him loose. I mean, I know he's kind of let loose a little bit, but I'd rather he just says whatever the fuck comes to mind at any point in time. I know
he'd be pretty fun.
He probably is on a bit of a looser leash than the others, but it's more in the sense of he could just say anything. He runs his own wrestling promotion. He could just say, "Oh, this is great," but it wasn't as good as the thing that we're doing at What's his
Reality
promotion
wrestling?
called? Reality wrestling. Yeah, this match we did also. Like, I'd love it if you just started saying stuff like that. Just saying like, oh, he doesn't do a scissor kick as well as I did, or something.
Well, I will come to the defense of Corey Graves, who is working really hard right now. So he did 7 hours at WrestleMania, which I thought was amazing. And Michael Cole, to Callum's point, if you listen to his commentary when he was being produced by Heyman in 2002, and if you listen to his commentary when produced by, I assume, Triple H during the United Kingdom tournament last year, fantastic.
But, I agree with that. Like Cole and Taz is one of my favorite commentary teams.
But Monday nights when he's, like Callum said, being the mouthpiece of the company and Vince McMahon, it's dreadful.
Well, let's move on here. What do you think of Ricochet so far? I like him.
He's as good as I'd expect him to be at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's amazing in the ring, and I'm liking his stuff with the Velveteen Dream.
Yeah, that match is going to be.
That's
awesome.
going to be.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah.
And I've heard like a lot of people talking about Velveteen Dream and stuff like that. I think he's still a little bit rough around the edges, but when he's with the right person, his character really shines through, and you can overlook the issues that he has in between the ropes, which are diminishing very quickly, but still obviously exist. But Ricochet will get the best out of him.
And I think he'll get the best out of Ricochet, from a character standpoint, which I assume, they really want to build with Ricochet. Right now, I think he's just like, I'm going to be a high-flying version of The Rock. And I don't know if they see that for him.
And he doesn't have the charisma as The Rock, so.
Yeah, it's a good blend where they could both help each other in different ways.
I think that's going to be a good thing going forward. I like both guys, so it's like, you give me something where I like both people, and I'm very interested to see where they go. He also asks, do you think that Bianca Belair should get more of a push?
Bianca Belair is fucking amazing. Yes, she should. I love Bianca Belair.
I don't think so right now. I think that she is exactly where she needs to be, and I think the babyface who beats Shayna Baszler loses it to Bianca Belair.
Yeah, that's the kind of route that I think it's going to be. But Belair is going to be a big, big star.
Mm-hmm.
She has the charisma, she has the power, the size, the athleticism. Once she gets more like honed her skills in the ring, she'll be like straight up into the upper echelons of Raw or SmackDown.
You see her deadlift Candice LeRae and
I know it's
blonde her into the fucking turnbuckle.
It's just amazing that like she's got the power to do that and an alley-oop as a finisher, and yet she can also do a 450 splash. It's like incredible.
And then she's got the added element of, she's got her hair. When they put it up in a hair versus hair match or something, that's going to be
that's a good idea. I like that a lot. Then they just have somebody like with like a hatchet, like kind of take care of that. I like that a lot. I think that she's got a bright future.
Mm.
I don't know about Lio Rush, and he's asking, why do you think the WWE keeps punishing Lio Rush? Is it for the Emma thing or what? It might be, but X-Pac, Sean Waltman, he said something recently about Big Cass that I think that it could apply to Lio Rush here. He said, sometimes you can be in the doghouse for so long that they forget why you're in the doghouse, and then you're just a guy in the doghouse. I think that that's applicable to Lio Rush. I think that he probably didn't have a lot of people that were really, really 100% behind him when he first came in. So that's why he came in kind of soft. Like some people, like Ricochet, he comes in and it's like, oh, fuck, it's Ricochet, and we're going to push him and all this stuff. EC3 got a pretty decent, head start. Lio Rush didn't. He was just kind of like, oh, here's a guy.
I also think Lio Rush would have had more opportunities had they not signed Ricochet right after.
And I think that he's small enough that they probably don't think that there's too much of a future for him for that reason. And then the Emma thing didn't help. And he's probably just one of those guys that they're like, yeah, well, we don't really want to prioritize you right now. And he might not ever get prioritized the way that that's going.
He strikes me as a guy that was signed by WWE far too soon.
You think they signed him just because he had some buzz?
Yeah, he had a bit of buzz, and obviously he's extremely athletic, and he does a lot of stuff, and they probably think, oh, we can make this guy like a cruiserweight in our style, as opposed to him being on the independent scene, and then we have to essentially like rub away the independent stuff from him and turn him into a WWE guy. I think he needed to get more credibility. He needed to be more of a all-round performer, as opposed to what I've seen, which is kind of just a high spot guy.
But I think I've seen that they're doing stuff with him on the house shows where he's got Babatunde as a bodyguard.
Is he the one with Babatunde as a bodyguard? Yeah. I thought. Oh, it's not Conan Reeves that has him as the bodyguard.
Nah, it's Leo Rush. Even though Conan Reeves, I described him to you guys yesterday as a store brand Velveteen Dream. He might be better served with the Babatunde, and maybe they'll do that going forward. Who knows?
I mean, having like a Leo Rush with a Babatunde makes me feel a bit like Brian Kendrick and Ezekiel Jackson.
But it's kind of like, even though Sean is a lot bigger, I'm sure, than Leo Rush, but he's good, but he needs to be credible. Give him a monster.
Yeah. It's the idea of like, almost with the, but those things were almost on the lines of, even though Sean did become the bigger star, the real plan was to get the big guy over.
Yeah, the real plan was for Sean to get him.
Yeah, so it's the idea of like, oh, so we'll give him the big guy, and the little guy will be perceived as the star that wrestles all the matches, but our main goal is to get the big guy as the actual champion at one point.
And, I mean, really, Babatunde has already been in the Greatest Royal Rumble, so he's already got more of a name than Leo Rush in their eyes.
What bugs me is there's a song called Papa Ute, and anytime that somebody says Babatunde, I'm just going like,
they gotta change his name, dude.
Unde Babatunde, Unde Babatunde.
I've had to say his name 3 times, and I've like tried so hard not to bust out laughing. They have to change that name.
It'll be Babatunde Jones, and then Vince will be like, I don't like that, and then it'll just Jones. Be Jones. Yeah, that's how they'll do it. Final NXT question for now, according to Peter. He says he's thinking for a potential card at Brooklyn. Aleister Black versus EC3. Adam Cole defending, I'm assuming, the North American Championship against Ricochet. Shayna Baszler against Kairi Sane. The Undisputed Era against War Raiders. And Ciampa versus Gargano in a 30-minute Iron Man match. And he asks, what do we think about that? Cool. Sign me up.
Well, yes, that card does sound great. I don't see them going from, hey, Ciampa and Gargano, do 2 hardcore matches and then wrestle for 30 minutes. That seems a little backwards to me. I think Ciampa's probably going to win the belt in Brooklyn. I wouldn't be surprised if Candice doesn't win the women's title in Brooklyn. Outside of that, maybe we do champion versus champion, Adam Cole, Pete Dunne, and the Undisputed Era can fight. Who's the top babyface tag team right now? Street Profits?
I don't know how that's going to work, but I think we're getting that triple threat that I had thought we were going to get this time around. I think we're getting Black versus Ciampa versus Gargano.
I think we should be getting that now. I don't understand why they jumped right into Sullivan, but I guess...
Yep. They flipped it around from what I thought we were getting. I thought it was going to be the triple threat and then Sullivan. They're doing the Sullivan thing now, so I think that we're getting the triple threat later.
My guess is they did it now so that after Brooklyn, they can call up Sullivan.
Could be.
Wait, isn't there...
I do think we're getting Baszler Sane. I agree with Frankie on that one. I think that Baszler Sane is happening, not Candice.
No, I don't think Sane's gonna beat Baszler. I think Candice is gonna beat Baszler.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they'll have the match at Brooklyn though.
Yeah, I think that Candice will beat Baszler in Los Angeles.
Yeah, because Nikki Cross is getting the match at
Chicago.
The next pay-per-view, so you could assume that
Baszler wins.
Sane will be the next one, and then you have Candice after that.
My assumption is wherever Johnny wins, Candice wins, because they want to do that whole "they did it together, happy ending" kind of thing.
I also think Gargano's not beating Black for the title.
No. I'd think that you'd probably wait until... I think that'll probably be the WrestleMania one next year.
Yeah, I think that might be
they'll
the
stretch
case.
it out for that long.
Do you think if they stretch it out for that long, do you think Gargano might be one of those guys that is just better suited staying in NXT for his career?
I think about 90% of the WWE roster.
Fair point.
I don't think it's a matter of staying in NXT. I think it's a matter of knowing what to do with them.
It's like the only person that I don't think that about is, well, essentially Elias and Braun Strowman.
Yeah, that's true.
And Elias, ironically, didn't do anything in NXT, and neither did Braun Strowman.
Yeah,
exactly. Maybe that's the case. If you do something in NXT, stay there. If you don't, then get the fuck on to the main roster. Let's go to the first of the food questions that Frankie had sent in. Actually, I don't think he has more than like 2 or so I don't know why I'm specifying like that. He says, what is the most underrated and most overrated food? Mushrooms were brought up earlier, and I forgot about this ahead of time, but I wanted to write a note to myself about that. Mushrooms are underrated as hell. Yeah. I think that a lot of people think that they're like absolutely gross, and I think a lot of people haven't actually tried mushrooms. It sounds gross, and they could look gross. Sometimes they might even smell gross, but they, for the most part, don't have that much of a taste. And I think that most people don't realize that, like, if you got like mushrooms on steak, you tend to just taste like an extension of steak. And you got mushrooms on like a pasta dish. It's just another thing to chew on and stuff. But I will say, buttered noodles are very underrated. A lot of people act like that's like bleh, and it's like buttered noodles are fucking amazing. Like, I could eat just like a box of buttered shells and be like, this is a great fucking meal. Not like healthy for you, but like, I think it's really thumbs up. As far as overrated though, fucking ketchup. Ugh.
Ketchup is disgusting in my eyes, so I'm gonna have to agree with you there, Tony. And I'll also agree with you on the mushrooms, because I gotta be honest, I can't think of anything that I really enjoy that's a lot of people don't, but mushrooms are really freaking good, and I suggest everybody listening go try some mushrooms.
I'll agree with the mushroom stuff. I love mushrooms, so everyone should try mushrooms. But I mean,
disagree on the ketchup.
yeah, of course I'll disagree on that side of thing. But in terms of foods that's like overrated, in my opinion, like this is gonna push me out to a lot of things, like, because there's a lot of food that I know loads of people love that I just personally don't like. Like, I don't eat chocolate. So
you're wrong here.
Yeah, I know.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's the last time Callum's on Smack.
On Snack Talk at least. And I'm not a huge fan of pizza.
Oh my god, you're killing me here.
And I don't eat rice either and stuff like that. So
I like rice, but I know a lot of people actually don't like rice all that much. I think it's kind of strange because it's pretty bland, but I've heard that before quite a bit.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of stuff that and it's not a case of like trying to individualize myself, like, oh, I just don't eat chocolate and stuff like that, so I'm part of the like different crowd or something like that. But it's more
anti-establishment.
Yeah, it's just a case of like I just don't like the taste of it.
Do you also? This seems to be the case that I've found. Do you really like potatoes?
I mean, like they're fine.
Like, is that like your go-to like side dish, kind of like a potato thing?
Yeah, it's usually some sort of like fries or mashed potato or something along those lines. Yeah.
Everybody that I know that doesn't like rice tends to prefer potatoes.
You need some sort of side dish. It's either that or vegetables.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you could also do like noodles, but most people that I know that don't like rice, they are very much like, I'd rather have fries than anything else, or mashed potatoes, or a baked potato, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And I'm very much more like, give me the noodles, then give me whatever, depends on what the dish is, you know? If it's like salmon, give me rice. If it's a steak, give me a baked potato. If it's a cheesesteak, give me fries. I'm not gonna eat like white rice and pizza. Like, that's just kind of strange.
That's a weird combination. I will say, I think white rice is a little underrated in terms of, you put that with the right kind of meat and you get the juices from the meat onto the rice. It's very flavorful. You don't need much else going on.
It's more like a bulk thing.
I think whites are underrated in general. So.
Egg whites.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially. There's so many jokes we can make with this. Agree and somewhat disagree, because I like rice at the very least.
I think I just guaranteed one dislike on this video.
Well, I'm sure people will dislike it too, because they'll think that it's actually an episode of Braun Strowman and Alexa Bliss on Ride Along. People are pissed about that.
I know.
Last time I checked it, it'd have been something like, I don't know, like 5 likes and like 40 dislikes, and it was just kind of like, it says review on there. Like, or like thoughts or whatever it is, and it's just kind of like, fuck you, I thought that you were something else, even though the episode was like an hour and a half long or something. And it's just
I mean, you know, people on YouTube are illiterate. That's why they watch stuff.
Yeah, that's true. And it's very much the case. I mean, I've had an entire YouTube channel taken down twice because I didn't post the movie. You know? Frankie asks, how often do you eat ice cream? He says he has a Dairy Queen by him, so he eats it a lot. I am more of a cookie guy, more than ice cream. Like, my go-to is, like, to eat some kind of, like, chocolate chip cookie. But ice cream, if you're in the mood for it, ice cream is so fucking good. And my issue, though, is I don't like, say, like, Breyer's ice cream. Or, Haagen-Dazs. Or, you know, like, just, like, the regular ice cream you can buy in, like, the frozen aisle of Walmart or ShopRite or whatever like that.
I love Haagen-Dazs stuff. I love the Haagen-Dazs brand.
To me, all that, like, hard ice cream, it's not the same. I want soft serve. That's my go-to.
It's definitely not the same, but it's like, it's so much more convenient. Like, I don't just want to chase down an ice cream van every time that it's nearby just to get that sort of thing. I do completely agree with you that sort of stuff, when you can get it, is so much better. But if I'm just, I mean, I don't eat ice cream hugely often, I say, but it's kind of like just a general treat. As like, after every couple of months or whatever, I'll probably just go to my local convenience store and buy a tub or whatever, just to cry myself to sleep or whatever. But but it's I'd say every couple of months I just eat it. But yeah, I agree. If you can get it often in the soft serve form, then go with that. But if not, then it's just a convenient way to just shovel like milk and sugar in your face.
Do you tend to do the whole, like, you're in the mood for ice cream, so you want just, like, chocolate ice cream? Or do you do kind of what I do, where it's... Well, chocolate, yeah. And I don't do chocolate ice cream because it always tastes like medicine to me. I had a medicine that I had to take when I was a kid that you had to grind it up in something soft. And I didn't know that it was then going to end up, like, tasting like that forever, so I chose chocolate ice cream. And it completely ruined it forever for me. But, like, do you do, like, what I do is, like, there's a brand called Blue Bunny ice cream, and they always pretty much have, like, chunks of stuff in it, whether it's, like, I think that Peanut Butter Party is the name of one of it. It's, like, peanut butter ice cream and, like, drizzles of peanut butter and chocolate and, like, chocolate-covered, like, little, like, bunny-shaped things and stuff. But it's, like, you know, if you throw in, like, crunched-up Oreos, or you throw in... My go-to is vanilla soft serve with Reese's peanut butter cups and either Butterfinger or Oreo or Nestle Crunch. Like, that to me is like the standard. Wow. You give me a thing of those combos, like that 2 candy plus the vanilla soft serve, and I go with that. But very rarely do I ever get in the mood where I'm like, man, I just want to eat plain strawberry ice cream or something like that, you know?
I'm kind of like the opposite, really, because when I'm getting like the soft serve stuff or just going like getting stuff from an ice cream van or whatever, I usually just tend to go with 1 or 2 flavors and just like have just a scoop of 2 of those ones. But actually, if I buy the like just the tubs of stuff, like the Haagen-Dazs stuff, my favorite Haagen-Dazs one is the strawberry cheesecake one. Where it has like obviously it's like strawberry. Well, it's actually like vanilla ice cream with like strawberry like bits in it, and has like little bits of cookie in it as well, like it's like a cheesecake base essentially. So that actually does have bits in it. But if I was to just have the soft serve stuff, I wouldn't have any sort of like toppings or mixes or anything like that. I just have it plain.
So my favorite kind of ice cream is Moose Tracks, and it's kind of along the lines of what Tony was saying, where it's vanilla and you throw in some Reese's peanut butter cups and some chunks of chocolate, and it's just so good.
Now that it's like summer out, I really need to get some ice cream. Actually, I bought a thing of Choco Tacos. Caroline has not had any of those, so she's going to try some of them like tonight or something. Choco Tacos are pretty good. If you could make this is not food related. I was going to say another food one. If you could make a 20-second phone call to anyone from the past, present, or future, who would you call and what would you say? I would call my future self and ask for advice.
That's probably a smart thing to do.
I'm actually going to go the exact opposite direction there and call myself from like 5-6 years ago and just try to give as much advice to be in better standing today.
But then you disappear from the timeline, and I don't want to disappear.
Well, a better version of you has reappeared.
I don't know. I still subscribe to that whole idea of like, well, if you teleport every molecule in my body, am I conscious enough to know that I'm still the same thing, or is it just a copy of me? I always freak out about that. And I mean always in the sense that I always do. Like, that really gets on my nerves, and it's like, I don't know. But anyway.
I don't want to bring down the tone too much, but like, if my genuine answer to this would be, if I'd go back in time to when my grandmother was still alive, like a few years ago, and just have just a 20-second conversation with her, just check how she was or anything like that. Just because I didn't think I did it enough when she was alive. So it's just again, brought the tone down a little bit. Just went too serious for a second.
Well, that was my second. Much more selfless person than Tony and myself.
That was my second option. Yeah. I'd go back in time and talk to my dad before he had passed away. But I had thought about that in my options, and I was just like, you know what? This is like I get real serious mode. I'm pretty sure my dad already knew everything that I'd be able to tell him anyway.
Yeah,
and then if I could talk to my future self, I have no idea what that dude would say. I was just kind of like,
I mean, your one's far more interesting. I do agree that it'd probably be a sense of like, she wouldn't know that I would have cared and stuff like that, but it's more along the lines of me just being selfish, just wanting to talk to her again, essentially. You miss people and that sort of time, and like, if you get one opportunity to just like talk to them again, you'd probably take it. In this hypothetical scenario, that's just my opinion. Like, I wouldn't like say everyone has to follow that sort of pattern. And
although I'm sure some people are probably like, I'd talk to Lincoln.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Frankie is sitting there like, I thought he was gonna say he'd talk to George Washington or.
Yeah, but George Washington does have a phone.
Oh,
like, how's that start?
All right, Callum. With your logistics. And
you just start going along the lines of like, first of all, George Washington does have a phone. Secondly, how do I know his number in the first place? Secondly, what the fuck is the cost going to be in terms of like bringing all the way back in like the 17th century? So many logistic things you have to take in mind with this hypothetical scenario.
Yes.
You call him up and you're like, hi, President Washington, and he's like, who the fuck are you, and what is this devil shit?
Yeah.
And how do you have my number?
We also would be like, because he's got wooden teeth, so you wouldn't be able to understand what he was saying as well. So yeah, that was a stupid suggestion. Let's move on.
He also asks, what would you name your kid, a boy and or a girl, if you became a parent? A parent of what? Insert joke. I am leaning towards Nathan and Valerie.
Are you leaning to that, or is Caroline leaning towards that?
Both of us.
Okay,
we had a discussion.
It's good to know.
Very nice. For a girl, I like the name Mercedes, and for a boy, there's too many Roberts in the world, so I ain't getting a junior out of that. I don't know. Maybe something like my father's name was Anthony. Maybe Anthony. I don't know.
It worked.
I've liked Sam as a name, which could obviously be interchangeable for the boy or a girl. So I'll probably go with some sort of like, call them Sam, but if it's a girl, go with Samantha instead. Sammy or Samantha.
I always thought it was kind of funny when people name their kids like the same thing. Like, I had mentioned that like Nathan is one of my go-to boy names. Like, if I would be like, oh, and a girl, Natalie, and then it's got Nate and Nat. Like, 'cause it's like, that would drive me crazy, and I would never do that.
Yeah. If you go with Nathan, is it going to just be straight Nathan, or are you going to go Nathaniel and call him Nathan?
I would probably go Nathaniel, because I really like the idea that names have like variations. Like, I love that with my name, Anthony can be very formal with Anthony, or people can call me Tony, or people can just really quickly be like, yo, Tone. I like the idea that could have a kid where it's like Nathaniel, and you can be Nathan, or you could be Nate. I like the 3-tier type of thing. That's why I kind of like Jonathan, Johnny, John, that kind of thing too. So But Jonathan's like boring. So
have you never been called Ant before?
Yeah, I was gonna
people
say.
call me Ant when they don't know that I go by Tony.
Oh.
And there's some people that go like they bring out like their accent and stuff, and they're like, "Yo, Anthony," and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm totally not an Anthony."
That sounds like more like Antony.
My brother's name is Anthony, and I usually just go Ant, and it's just like,
yeah. And some people like they do that. Like I know an Ant, and it's kind of like it's strange to me that it's like some people do that. Like if you're like John and you go by John, or you can go by Jack. And I've like it's weird how like sometimes the parents pick that and sometimes the kids pick that, and you know if you're a Robert you can be Rob or you can be Bob or you can be Bobby or Robbie.
I've had everything. It's very odd.
My name's like less available for that unless you want to and call me Kalen instead.
Yeah. Or Calum, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
But you've probably gotten Cal before, right?
Yeah, I hate that. That's my least favorite.
It's got to be better than Lum. Just like somebody picks the bottom part.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I don't know which I prefer for that. Like I usually go by, if people want to call me a nickname, they have to go by my surname. So they go by Wiggy or Wig or something like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I much prefer
that. There was another one that I was going to go with that kind of thing. I just totally lost my train of thought. It was William and Bill and Will.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty sure if I was a William, I'd go by Will. I don't like Bill.
Or Billy.
Yeah, Billy. And Willie, you can't ever go by Willie. But I like that, and I think it's funny, though, when people with, like, the Anthony and the Ant type thing. I've gotten Anton before. From, like, one person. They're like, oh, Anton, what's up? And I'm like, Anton? Do I look like an Anton? I'm, like, so super white, and, like... it's kind of strange. Frankie asks, is it difficult for you to look somebody into the eyes and lie to them?
No.
What's weird to me, it's harder for me to look somebody in the eyes when I'm not lying to them. Like if I'm just like talking. I don't look at people in the eye.
Yeah, I have that same issue.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe we should make a joke about this, about pretending to be blind or something like that, but I don't want to offend too many people at this point. But it's just like a case of like, I find it quite easy nowadays because for some reason people find me very believable. So I could just literally say anything and people just tend to go with it. So I don't usually feel that bad about lying to people. And I never.
That's bullshit. I don't believe it. Huh. Look me in the eyes and say that.
Well, I've never found a reason to like lie in terms of anything serious. So I usually, it's lie. It's usually just like a more sarcastic, more than actual genuine lie. So I find that quite easy to do.
I think it's your tone.
Do you think that?
It's very believable, you know? Like,
I think it's your aunt. Legitimately, there was a part of me in my throat that I was like, I don't know if I should really make this joke, and I was just kind of like, I have to.
To be honest, I'm surprised that part of you doesn't turn up more often. Really.
It should. It really should. Yeah. But I barely ever listen to it. That actually kind of goes into the next question. It's do you still do lie? Wait, what?
Yeah, it's just do you still lie? That's the way I interpreted that question.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's like that. Sorry about that, Frankie. So Callum, you're saying that you don't really tend to lie all that much and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that that's a no, right?
Well, I could be lying about that, couldn't I?
You could be.
Yeah. So you never know.
I believe it.
But yeah, I'd say that I don't usually find too many reasons to do it. I usually just tend to do it as like more of like a joke, more like, oh, something just happened in the news that didn't actually happen or something along those lines. More of a prank-based thing as opposed to, oh, I like know something about this thing that you don't know about, and it would really mean a lot to you to know that sort of thing. Like it's never anything that's too serious that would actually annoy someone if I was lying to them.
Yeah, I think that there's like a lot of nuance when it comes to lying. I like lying, but I don't lie all that much. Like I kind of do a little bit similar to what you're saying. Like I'll lie to be sarcastic or I'll lie for like a joke. But if it's something really serious, it's almost never a good idea to lie because then you're going to have to answer for a lie on top of whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
And I tend not to do anything that I think I would have to lie about to begin with. So that helps a lot, but I also kind of take the philosophy of like, white lies are good sometimes for certain people. Certain people, it's better not to. And, you know, if it's going to like really hurt somebody's feelings, if like you're meeting somebody for the first time and they're like, man, you know, it's a great day today, isn't it? I just love the weather. And you don't really care and you hate the weather. Then you just go like, yeah, it is. Because it's bright and sunny. And it's like, well, I'm not going to go into a whole big debate about being like, no, I actually like when it's a little bit misty and dark outside. And then like start a whole conversation. I'll just be like, yeah, you know, the sun's great. Totally lie about that. Or I'll lie sometimes just to sharpen my skills and just kind of see if I can get away with it. And then I'll tell somebody afterward, like, nah, I'm just bullshitting, you know, whatever. But no, you shouldn't really like be the type of person that ever you have to call into question whether or not you're truthful, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I was younger, I used to lie more, like you know, high school age. Used to lie more. These days, I'm honest to a fault, and it really has cost me a lot.
Yeah, that's another issue.
So, you know, there is that other side to it. Like, I don't lie much these days, but I have been taken advantage of for being honest and kind. And so, you know, maybe it's better to kind of walk in the middle somewhere.
That's another thing, too, is as truthful as you are, you can't assume that other people are. And
no, you cannot.
It is very tough to do that if you're the type of person that's like, well, why can't people just tell the truth? Then you're like, I don't know, but they can't.
I don't know. I actually prefer walking with a lie. Yes.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
I liked it.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I'll endorse it.
Oh shit, I got it.
No, I took a little bit.
That's one of those instances where you probably shouldn't have been so honest about it. Not.
You'd have been like, I got it before you even said it. Frankie hitting us with another hypothetical one here. Another kind of deep one. You're in a plane and there's a massive fire and you're going to die. Who would you make your last phone call to? I mean, first things first, I would sit there and cry my eyes out and be like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then I'd lose my ability to actually call because by that time the plane would crash. So that's the most honest answer I can give is I would panic and then die. But I'd probably call my mom.
Yeah, my mom was the first person that came into my head.
Yeah.
Like, the only people that come into my mind are my mom and Caroline, and like, I'd probably try to do like a group call. I guess like knowing me, I'd probably try to do a group call and grab like a bunch of people on there and just kind of be like, all right, I'm going to crash into this. Is there other things I have to tell you? Like, you know, like that kind of thing and stuff. But knowing me even more, I would panic and die.
Yeah. Yeah. The smart answer is that I'd, call my mum or something like that and just say anything really. And then obviously the smart Alec response is you call in like a radio call-in show. You just like kill their entire buzz for this.
Oh, I know the perfect answer for this. I would call myself from the past and I have 20 seconds and say, don't get on that flight.
Yeah,
there you go.
Good. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Haha, I figured that shit out. Because I already know my number. You know, I don't have to do the George Washington thing.
That's some cross-hypothetical shit going on.
Or maybe I would call George Washington. Hey, George Washington, I'm going to die. Who the fuck are you? How do you have this number? Why do I have a number? What is a cell phone? And what do you mean an airplane? What's that noise in the background?
Which is gone off the rails.
Which one would you choose? Love with a guarantee of heartbreak or no love at all? Love with a guarantee of heartbreak.
Well, these days, I'm going with no love at all.
I was kind of assuming you'd go about that.
Fuck.
I think, but like part of me is trying to think logically through this, trying to think like love with a guarantee of heartbreak is actually kind of easier to go through than a relationship normally, because then there's no guarantee, but it could still end up like that way. So at least you know, and you can prepare yourself for it in this situation. So yeah, I get this companionship and everything else that goes with it for a period of time, and I know it's going to end badly at one point, but at least I know that's going to happen.
It doesn't prepare you.
I know it doesn't prepare you for it, but I think it's better than just like having nothing like for the entire time.
My rationalization is you always still at least have fond memories to look back on, even if you have the bad ones too.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Sometimes the good outweighs the bad. Sometimes a little bit of good and a lot of bad, you still can kind of have a little bit of fun with the good, you know?
It's like an episode of Raw.
That's the most optimistic thing I've said in probably many years.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit of water goes a long way.
Yeah. Timestamp this in the comments, because this is the only time it's going to happen for a while.
Yeah, because the next thing is, do you like pickles? Pickles are fucking gross.
Pickles are disgusting.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. It's weird. I like cucumbers, but pickles just go a bit too far.
You want to hear a funny story about cucumbers? I spent a good couple of minutes yesterday cutting up a cucumber, and I got 9/10 of the way through and said, this isn't a zucchini. Put that back in the refrigerator, got out a zucchini, and cut that up. So I legitimately went through the whole thing going, this looks a little bit weird. And it kind of is a little bit too watery, and it smells a little weird. And then it was like, let me try a piece of this, and oh, fuck, yeah, it's cucumber. So, pickles, fuck you. You got me. Were you a fan of Dr. Seuss books? Not really, but they're okay.
I read a few of them. They were good. I mean, it's kind of weird to like look back now at the bastardization through all of their movies and stuff like that. It's kind of just spoiled it a little bit for me. Especially the Cat in the Hat. That sucked.
Yeah, the Cat in the Hat was terrible. When I initially read this question, I was gonna go off on a thing with the rhyming, but no, I liked them. You know, they were a big part of, you know, me learning to read and all that. So I have fond memories. But yes, the Cat in the Hat movie was terrible. Didn't
even bother seeing it. I thought that Mike Myers looked creepy enough as it was that I was just like, nope.
Yeah, you're a better person for never watching
that. Favorite board games? Clue.
Oh, I love Clue. Doe. Called Cluedo.
Trouble.
Well, that's the DC Freezeformer theme music.
I love that song too.
Yeah. I also like this one called Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a bit more like an obscure one, but we played those games. Like there was an online version of it, and so played that with like loads of friends online all the time. So yeah, it's I would encourage people to play more board games. They're really like family friendly, interactive entertainment, and that I don't want them to go out of fashion.
They're a good way to see like a different side of things when you're like your form of entertainment is usually like an iPad or a TV or whatever like that. Board games bring a different vibe to the whole situation.
Also, they can kind of identify who are your real friends and who aren't, because they're the type of people that don't mind actually losing their things and won't just get into a hissy fit and not call you for about like 2 weeks afterwards. Because
and Frankie brings up that his favorite is Monopoly. Monopoly is notorious for pissing people off.
Yeah, if you want to lose some friends, Monopoly is a game for that.
And if you want to be the reason why you lose friends in Monopoly, be the banker.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's like the person who goes, I want to be the banker. You're like, all right, you're a fucker.
Yeah. Be the banker and take the race car as your piece as well.
I never was a race car. I always went with either the dog or the thimble.
I went with the top hat usually.
I was usually the boot.
Huh. Well, there you go. We could play a game of Monopoly and not have to argue. I'm the banker. Were you someone who used to put their lunch in a lunchbox or a bag as a kid? Lunchbox for me.
Yeah, plastic protection.
Really, really, really young lunchbox. I sort of morphed into just a brown paper bag.
I didn't like when a brown paper bag would just like break open, so I was always just kind of like, nah, I need to have like that canvasy type of bag.
Do you guys have any cool lunchboxes?
Oh, I had like Street Fighter and shit. Like that was like at the beginning of the year. What's going to be the awesome lunchbox? Is it going to be Batman? Is it going to be Power Rangers? That kind of a thing. And then they morphed into a place to hold action figures when I was a kid. So the Street Fighter characters were in the Street Fighter one. Yeah.
Oh, bro, you have OCD.
Caroline just said, "Of course." Very much true. Which it used to bug the crap out of me when I had I didn't have a Spider-Man one or a Marvel one, so I just was like, I don't know what to do here. Kind of thing.
Oh, dude, you missed out.
Yeah, I did, but hey, I still had the figures. I can't complain, and I still ate lunch, so I can't complain. Did we answer that one? Did everybody go?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody said lunchbox.
Did you have Recess as a kid? And if so, what did you play? Recess was fucking awesome.
How does Frankie think we are?
Yeah, no.
Back in my day.
I mean, I'm 208, so.
Yeah, back in my day, we didn't have recess. We just sat in the classroom with our heads down for 10 minutes at a time.
Back in my day, Recess was standing outside of the building and smoking, ingesting all the smoke from the local plant that was making war bonds. Then we would do an air raid drill with Washington. Gonna bring him back.
Well, we were kind constantly.
We're gonna end up getting a Washington shirt out of this shit.
This is probably gonna be the case. It'll just say call up Washington or something. I don't know. Recess was great. The TV show I liked too.
Yeah.
But, as far as what to play, there was this trend, it seemed, in my elementary school where the boys and the girls would do separate things, of course, because at that point you're like, oh my god, I don't want to hang out with the girls and that kind of shit. But the girls would tend to play house and jump rope, and the boys almost every year there was one thing that was predominantly popular. In second grade, everybody was into soccer for some reason. Fourth grade, we were into wall ball, otherwise known as suicide, the game where you would throw a tennis ball against the wall, and whoever it landed nearby, if it was closest to you and you didn't catch it or throw it back or hit it back, if you just missed out on it and it bounced by you, then you would sacrifice yourself by going up to the wall, and whoever had thrown the ball gets to peg you with it. So that was fun. But that's what we used to do for the most part. Things that we would get in trouble for, essentially.
I feel like I remember a lot of people just bringing, whether it was Yu-Gi-Oh cards or action figures, and a lot of it being just sitting outside and doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when Pokemon came out and you got that link cable, you bring in your Game Boy.
Yeah,
we weren't allowed to bring that stuff into our place at school. You weren't allowed to bring the electronic devices.
Well, yeah, I mean, same here, but American kids refuse to listen.
we have pockets. Just kind of what is that? Nothing. It can't be nothing. It's clearly some kind of a Game Boy. Nah, it's a football.
Yeah, I used to just do some sort of variation of soccer or some variation of British Bulldog or.
What's British Bulldog?
A British Bulldog is where it's not the wrestler, obviously. We didn't just have him in the school. But,
just hang out with British Bulldog.
No, it's basically a game where you start with one person, in a field. One person is at one end of the field, and there's dozens of other people at the other side. And the job of the one person is to essentially tackle as many people as they can. And then
it sounds awesome.
Yeah, and then when they've tackled that person joins their team, and then essentially you just get down to this point where there's one person running against 50 people, and they're all just trying to tackle him at the same time.
How the fuck did I not play this as a kid? This sounds so good.
Well, it was brilliant. It was really good at the time because, obviously, at the time you were just getting beaten up a lot, and that's why they banned it in most schools because, just people getting killed essentially. But it was so much fun.
Did you have the lame version of it where it was I don't want to play the tackle one, I want to play the tag one?
Yeah, we used to do that. Was when it essentially got banned, or when you couldn't get onto a field and really tackle them onto the ground. You weren't gonna tackle them onto asphalt or whatever. So you used to just do the tag stuff where you just had a bench or something like that, and had one person protecting the bench, and your job was to get to the bench before he tagged you or whatever. Yeah, but those sort of games were always fun, and I think we pretty much played them any time that it was sunny outside.
To go back to NXT, did you hear at an NXT live event they changed the winner to a match between Cassius Ohno and Chad Lale because Lale was so over? I don't know the story behind this one, but
I'm not aware of it.
Okay, fill me in.
Okay,
Chat me up.
So the situation was that they've been doing live events where Ohno has been facing Chad Lale a lot. Chad Lale, if you don't know, is the former Gunner in TNA. and people probably still won't know that stuff, but I'll just put it out there anyway. But in most of the cases, Ono has been winning all these matches. But in this particular event, for some reason, Lael was like really, really over. So I don't know whether it was actually like called from the back, or whatever, or they decided to just call it in the ring. But they decided, okay, you're more popular tonight, so Ono's just gonna do the job instead. And I think it's a good practice. I'm not saying it's right for every situation because you've got a story to tell in certain instances, but for live events, stuff like that, like if like the heel for some reason is just so much more over than the babyface. I don't know that's not gonna happen in Roman Reigns matches or whatever, but like if every now and again just switch the roles around, give the crowd what they want. Occasionally,
I guess Ono isn't over in Texas, but these kinds of things used to happen a lot, in years past, where, hey, this guy's more over here, so we'll change the finish here. There's the common story of like, hey, we're in Montreal tonight, so, Diesel's got to defend the title against the Pirate because he's over in Montreal. And it's like, it's weird, but, give the fans what they want. I'm just so sad that Ono isn't as over as he should be and isn't on the main roster already.
And Chad Lael, I don't know what's going on with him, but hey, if he is over, then give him a win. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gunner's cool.
Yeah, I'm happy with all this stuff.
Do you think that the Revival are moving down to NXT since they fought at a live event?
I wish they fucking would. Like, why aren't they doing anything with the Revival on the main roster? God, that upsets me so much.
Because they don't care about tag team wrestling.
Yeah, but
we established this. I would love the Revival to go back to NXT and win the championships, but stay on the main roster. Because they can come in just to do any random show on like main event or on the main roster or whatever, and they're holding the NXT Tag Team Championship, and then people tune in and say, "Oh wow, they're holding these titles. When do they win these championships?" Like, then the commentators can say something along the lines of, "Oh, they recently won the NXT Tag Team Championships," and like, "Oh, what's NXT?" If they didn't know, they might know what NXT is, obviously, because they do still promote it. But it's like you get into a situation of, "Oh, I might check it out then because they won the titles recently, and that's quite interesting to have the champions on there." I think there is room, especially with a 3-hour Raw, which always feels like they're putting so much filler in there, to occasionally put NXT like matches in there, or have people that wrestle on both brands, and occasionally pick up championships, whatever. Like the Rival could just hold the titles for a month or so, and then drop it back to an actual like full developmental team. But I think it would attract more eyes onto NXT, perhaps.
I agree.
Yeah.
What do we have? We have another NXT winner. There we go. I'm having trouble figuring this out, but I can't tell if Candice LeRae is actually good on the mic. Is she? She's all right.
Yeah,
I think
she's good at what she does.
I think she'll be a lot better when every single thing she says doesn't have to revolve around her husband.
This is true.
I think I appreciate the fact that it's good to have extra characters in the story and the narrative, but like she's her own person, so let her be her own person. She doesn't always have to be Mrs. Johnny Gargano.
I feel like if they keep going with this story the way they are, and especially if Gargano loses to Ciampa and then gets frustrated, there might be a thing where Candice goes, "You know what, Johnny, I can't do this. I thought this would be great with us being on NXT together, but you're actually just kind of getting in the way," which kind of leads to Gargano and Ciampa then having a, loser leaves NXT.
They fight for the custody of Candice.
No.
And Vicky Guerrero doesn't pop up.
Yes, a ladder match for the custody of Candice.
I mean, I would. It makes sense, but I wouldn't go down that route because then Candice's separation from Gargano becomes more relationship drama essentially, which I don't think either of them really need. I think you can just go by the sense of Candice can start doing her own thing. It's not like they can still not interact or anything like that, but it's more about Candice is a wrestler in the women's division on NXT. She should be moving her way towards the title at some point. So give her storylines that is independent of this. Because at the end of the day, even though she's connected to Gargano, it doesn't have to revolve around her, or doesn't have to be the only thing she's interested in.
Now, granted, they might be waiting because Shayna and Nikki, and then they're still doing the thing with Dakota Kai a little bit. So
yeah, this is true, but like I just go by the sense of unless you watch the Mae Young Classic, most people don't or didn't follow Candice on the independent scene. You don't know anything about her other than the fact that she's married to Johnny Gargano.
I think after Chicago, things are going to get better.
I'd hope so, at least for her character.
And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more questions left. So for those that are like, oh, it's 2 hours long. Yeah, we're almost done. If Styles loses at Money in the Bank, what will he do at SummerSlam? I think he has 3 options. Number 1, taking on Samoa Joe in a regular match. Number 2, facing Almas, who beats Hardy at Extreme Rules for the U.S. title. Or 3, he faces the winner of the Money in the Bank from the men's side, The Miz, in a regular match. Which one do you prefer? Well, that assumes that The Miz would win the Money in the Bank, which I hope is the case, but we'll see. Between those 3 options, I like the idea of if Styles loses at Money in the Bank and they do a rematch at Extreme Rules, and then you assume that Nakamura fights somebody for the title at SummerSlam, under that scenario, I like the idea of Almas beating Jeff Hardy for the title either at Money in the Bank or at Extreme Rules, and then moving on to Almas and Styles. I kind of like that. I'd probably go with that one out of those 3.
I don't want to see what happened last year where AJ just drops down to the U.S. title. So if he's going to lose at Money in the Bank, I think they'll just put him and Joe, out of these 3 options, they would just put him and Joe together in an attraction match.
Yeah, I'd say out of all of the options presented, that would probably be the best scenario. I could see, I mean, personally, I don't think, we'll obviously get more into predictions, but at the current state of things, I don't think Styles is losing the title, so I think he will be defending it at SummerSlam, so it's a bit of a moot point. But I'd say you either go with a match between him and Joe or him and Brian at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping that that's not the case of him losing the title, but I guess we're going to have to see. Frankie's asking us, are we going to watch All In?
So they haven't actually... Cody just tweeted yesterday that there's no plans currently to stream All In, which I think is bizarre and ridiculous because shitty feds stream their shows weekly. So why wouldn't this show, which is being presented as the biggest alternative show in America in the longest time, be streamed?
I've heard... Well, you go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, didn't he say something along the lines of that he necessarily can't because of different contract disputes?
Yeah, that's the main thing that I was going to bring up, is the sense that there's a lot of people working for different promotions on this show that are contracted to New Japan or Ring of Honor or a lot of other places. So bringing them all together and being able to broadcast them on a particular platform can be difficult because it might be a platform that goes against the interests of a particular promotion. So they have to be very careful with who they select. I don't think they've outright said they're not going to stream All In, but they need to be careful about what they can and can't do, essentially.
I think it would be a smart, and I'm assuming that this is what they're doing, to talk to these other places like New Japan and Ring of Honor and such and just go, like, look, you don't really have that much to lose. How about you stream it? You let us stream it. Maybe we'll even cut you in on like some of the proceeds or something like that. And then they just do it because it's like people are going to know what happened at the show no matter what. You know, it only takes one person who's been at the show to say such and such beat so and so, and then you know what it is. And the people that are watching All In are people that read dirt sheets and stuff like that. They're not like some dude off the side of the road was just kind of like, yeah, I'll check out a pro wrestling show. And if that's the case, they don't follow Ring of Honor and New Japan and all that anyway. So they really have nothing to lose from this, you know?
But I will say, if it is eventually settled that it can be streamed, then I will be watching it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That was going to be my question, because I know, Tony, you don't watch a lot of Ring of Honor or New Japan or anything that's not WWE. So you would go out of your way to watch this?
Not only would I go out of my way to watch it, I'd probably do a post show for it.
Hell yeah. We're getting excited now.
Yeah,
we don't have to talk about WWE for a change. Yeah.
I wouldn't do a pay-per-view point predictions for it because I have no idea who some of these people are.
Yeah, we don't have
be
a
like,
card anyway at the moment.
you know,
well,
yeah, that too.
If we get closer to the card and the card looks good and they do have a streaming service, I'd love to do all of that because, yeah, this does seem like a big deal, and I hope it works out for everybody involved.
Me too.
So
again, this is the type of thing where there's nothing for me to lose if they stream it, so I want them to.
So
and for that matter, I really wish that more independent shows did pay-per-views and stuff.
I would suggest you subscribe to powerbomb.tv. You would probably get your fill of independent wrestling pay-per-views.
Didn't even know it was a thing.
That's why I didn't know if you'd be watching All In or not.
Yeah. So Cody, Matt, Nick, I know you're listening. Just to let you know, if you can get it streamed, we'll do a post show. And
well, hold on a second.
That's going to be worth its weight in gold.
We want to be at StarCast.
Yeah, if you guys are listening and you didn't invite me to StarCast, the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Also, who would you call if you had 20 seconds? Do you like pickles? What's the case?
Yeah.
And somebody's just mowing their lawn. So if you heard that in the background, that's what it is. Is Seth Rollins the best worker in the company right now?
Yes.
In Frankie's opinion, he is, and he says he may be going crazy here, but he is the second best in-ring performer today behind AJ.
I don't really get the question. It's like a sense of Seth Rollins is the best today, except AJ Styles, who's second best.
It's just, do you agree with me, yes or no?
Yeah.
No, I think he's saying, do you think that he's like above Styles? And Frankie says Styles is still probably number one to him, but he's at least like in the running for it. And I would agree. I still think Styles is the top of the game, but Rollins has been kicking some ass, and he might, by the end of this year, he might be to the point where I just go, yep, Rollins is number one.
With the way Rollins is right now, he, honestly, to me, in terms of popularity, has probably surpassed AJ. He's probably sitting right underneath Bryan, and who knows if that will dissipate if they keep putting Bryan against Big Cass. But Rollins is doing great work-wise. He's doing great just being over with the people. So I'm loving when Rollins is on my television screen.
Rollins is working hard and he's getting a huge reception for it. So I think he's definitely the hardest worker at the moment, and he's somebody who looks like he's aiming to be the top guy. He's not somebody who's going to settle for just being... I mean, I'm sure he's loving being Intercontinental Champion, but I don't think that's what he's settling for at this point. And it's a really good thing to see, to somebody who's, right, if you're choosing this person's going to be the top guy, or this guy's holding the main title right now, then I'm going to force you to change your thinking. It's good.
Yeah. He's using the IC title as a prop the way that he should be.
Yeah, he's a real champion.
Yeah. One of the few real champions that they've got. Do you like the B team? They're entertaining to me. I don't know.
As a comedy eventually jobber tag team, they're perfectly serviceable.
They're okay to me, but it's like, I think that the act grew old a long time ago, and just the fact that they're a bunch of losers that have won a couple of matches and they actually have a name now, they didn't win me over yet.
The problem I have with the B team is that they've basically been doing the same gimmick for the last 3 years. Social Outcast was 2015, right?
Yeah, around about that time.
So, yeah, Axel and Dallas have been doing the same gimmick for pretty much 3 years. They're job guys, and hey, look, they can actually win a match if they work together. And I laughed hard at their celebration on Raw. I thought that was funny. I don't think they should be getting the Raw tag team title shot over Ziggler and McIntyre. I like Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas too, but Axel more.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say Curtis Axel for me is like in the conversation for one of the most underrated people on the entire WWE. Like in wrestling, he might be a bit like plain. He's certainly not a Mr. Perfect, essentially, which is sad to say, but he's actually got a lot of personality. Like, it's very clear to see that he is very passionate about wrestling and does anything possible to get himself over because he knows that people behind the scenes aren't going to do anything for him.
It's
so
just
I'm happy
a damn
with
shame.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm happy with the team because at least they're doing something with them. I'd be more upset if they weren't doing anything with either of them because I think they're both worth a little bit more than just appearing on main event or something along those lines.
I still think Curtis Axel should have been pushed to the moon as a Paul Heyman guy, but whatever.
They could have gone a different way. They could have given him a better start too without naming him Michael McGillicuddy.
Yeah.
And our last question here from Frankie and from everybody. Finally, after watching the Mount Rushmore podcast, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Edge. In my opinion, I wouldn't put him on there either, but I think that he should have been mentioned. Edge has one of the best gimmicks, and he is great in the ring and really was a main focal point for WWE for a while. Do you think someone could give you an argument for him to at least be close to the Rushmore or not? By the way, Undertaker is my favorite of all time, followed by Edge at number 2. To me, Edge is not in the discussion. I really, really like Edge. I would put him in my top 10 favorites probably, but I don't think he's in the discussion for a Mount Rushmore. Like a Mount Rushmore for all time. If we're talking Mount Rushmore of tag teams, Edge and Christian is on there, I think.
I don't know about that.
Or potentially. Like, they're in the discussion at the very least, I mean. But Edge on his own, I don't think he's... It would be really, really tough for somebody to make an argument that I would kind of listen to about it, you know?
Yeah. Edge is, like, awesome. Like, somebody who was originally brought in and seemed a little bit of skill, but really rose up and become, like, such a focal point in the, like, 2000s, early 2010s, along those sort of lines. He was a big, big deal for WWE. And I think even if you talk about, like, a WWE Mount Rushmore, you kind of, I wouldn't say he'd get onto it, but you could definitely put him more into the conversation because he's got more title reigns than anybody in WWE, essentially. If you'd like combine all of his multiple championship wins together, he's a multiple time Intercontinental champion and tag team champion and world champion. But I don't think his influence extends beyond like just being an entertaining character.
If we're talking about a personal Mount Rushmore of why we watch wrestling, Edge is the first name on the list for me. I do think Edge is one of the most underrated champions of all time and definitely the most underrated guy of the last decade. Edge should get more credit. No, he's not in the discussion of the all-time Mount Rushmore because as you saw with what we did, we broke it down through years and different promotions, but Edge is one of the most underrated champions of all time.
So I have 2 questions for you guys. One of them is just to get Dane annoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Edge is better than Christian, right?
100%.
I've always thought Christian was the better wrestler than Edge.
What?
Edge is a bigger personality and was a bigger star. Christian was the better wrestler out of the two of them.
Save it for the split crowd. This is what we'll do.
This might be a split crowd then the line. And my other question, the final question that I'm going to ask for you guys, does George Washington go on the Mount Rushmore?
I don't know. I'll give him a call quickly and let him know if he's interested.
Yeah. Alrighty, everybody. That is the May 2018 mailbag. Thank you for sending your questions in. As I mentioned before, if you did not send in your questions for this time around and you wish that you could have gotten something in there, there is still June. That's coming up in at least a couple of weeks or so. You know, it'll happen in June. I don't know when in June. Usually it's towards the end of the month. So when you factor in all the upcoming events and stuff like that, we'll get around to it when we get around to it, probably around like the 30th or so. And start thinking of those questions now. You might as well backlog them and stuff. You could always send them ahead of time too if you want, and I can backlog them myself if that's the case. But the next thing that we're going to be taking care of is... Actually, what is the next thing that we're going to be doing? We're going to be doing...
blank week that we've been talking about. What are we going to do?
That's right. Yeah, blank week coming up. So if you have any suggestions of what you would like to see, then drop them in the comment section below. Also, if you want to just chime in with your answers on these questions, do the same thing. Make sure that you give a little bit of context so we know what we're talking about, unless you just say, like, yeah, it's gross. And you mean the pickle thing as opposed to poniard? I don't know. Then keep that in mind too. And also, if you're on YouTube, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications for whatever the next things are going to be. Hot Tags is technically going to be next, and then whatever the main event is, that's going to be the main event. The week after that, we're going to be most likely doing Call the Spot for the Money in the Bank participants, which means I have to figure out an 8th spot now. WWE keeps making this harder for me. Started out with 5, then I had a 6 option, then a 7, then
I thought we agreed on like lower mid card or upper mid card or something.
More than likely, lower mid card is probably going to be the spot. So it'll probably be a matter of Hall of Fame main event, upper mid card, lower mid card, jobber released, and then the Chris Benoit treatment. But who knows? Maybe something else will pop up, and we'll do some other kind of a thing instead of Call the Spot. You'll be aware when you're aware, and it'll be up when it's up, and we'll record it when we record it. That's how it works. So thank you for everybody listening for this. Last thing to do is just like some extra little plug stuff on anything else that's not just like the standard kind of thing like that. But Twitter for following these guys and anything else that they've got going on. Callum?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. I contributed to the... I actually wrote something. I actually contributed to the Triple Threat for this week, so be sure to check that out and all the other articles on Smark Out Moment.
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. I also contributed to the Triple Threat this week, so, keep an eye out on that. And buy a t-shirt, tpublic.com/SmarkOutMoment. I'm sure there's going to be a Washington t-shirt after this.
At the very least, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I did not contribute to the Triple Threat, but...
Well, you gave us the platform. So,
yeah, I never do the Triple Threat really unless it's like an emergency thing because I bitch and complain about stuff as it is way too much. But you can find my crap all over the place. You know where my crap is. Normally it's in the toilet. At Tony Mango on Facebook and Twitter, and I've got Fanboys Anonymous as well. Solo is popping up tomorrow night, so even though I am totally not a Star Wars fan as much as I used to be after The Last Jedi, I'm going to be seeing Solo tomorrow night, so perhaps Caroline and I are going to do some kind of a movie review for that on the Review Point thing. I would have done one for Deadpool, but I thought it actually worked out a little bit better on the written form. So if you want to know what my thoughts were about Deadpool 2, go back and read that article instead. But Solo is coming up, and who knows what's happening there on Fanboys. But fanboysanonymous.com is where you'll find that stuff. And as we mentioned before, smarkoutmoment.com for anything else on the wrestling side of things. And the outside interference and blah, 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 blah. So thanks again for listening to this, everybody. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.